by Utah lawmakers. The Utah Board of Higher Education approved plans for the University of Utah, Utah State, and Weber State University this week. The plans will need to be approved by the state legislature before funds will be released. And our top national story this hour from ABC News. The destructive and deadly Texas floods have uncovered some fascinating reminders of the distant past.
As the floodwaters receded around Big Sandy Creek north of Austin, a landowner made a discovery.
Three-toed, bird-like tracks.
Previously obscured by brush and silt, but laid bare by the flood. University of Texas paleontologist Matthew Brown.
We think that this probably came from a dinosaur like Acrocanthosaurus, which was a big meat-eating dinosaur.
The challenge now is to preserve the giant footprints while flood recovery efforts begin around them. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is currently up 296 points. The S&P 500 is up 11 points. Coming up, we'll take a look at that Wednesday morning traffic. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
I'm Jordan Wilcox, your Utah tax attorney. When life gets overwhelming, some things tend to fall by the side.
I'm Carlos Sanchez from Draper, Utah. I was managing a business, helping out a business, doing paperwork and getting paid, and my wife got sick. We filed taxes, but then we got audited. And when I went and talked to the IRS, they didn't give me any choice. The IRS pretty much said, this is what you owe us, when are you gonna pay us? And we're talking quite a bit. But every time I drive, I listen to the radio. Jordan Wilcox, Jordan Wilcox. So I figure there's a reason this guy's on the radio. So I called him.
Put an end to IRS collection and aggression today.
The amount that the IRS came up with, close to $250,000, and the offer and compromise was about $7,600. That's it.
This is Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com.
Go for it. The outcome, it was worth it. I'm okay.
endtaxworry.com.
Hey Ryan, you remember that trip we took in our tent trailer down to Southern California?
Oh, that was the best.
Making memories with Paris RV. Hook up to the 2025 Forest River Rockwood 16 OTG for only $9,195 or $148 per month, zero down. Or the 2025 Highland Ridge Open Range 177 BH for only $14,995 or $171 per month, zero down. Or the 2026 Coachman RV Catalina Summit Series 7 134 BHX for only $14,995 or $171 per month, zero down.
Take your family out RVing with Paris RV.
Paris RV is your locally owned, family-run RV dealership. We strive hard to find the best RV vacation. Check out our perfect family bunkhouse trailer, the 26BH. That sleeps 9 for $19,995 or $227 a month, zero down. Life is short. Enjoy it. North Murray, South Murray, Payson, and Pocatello. ParisRV.com.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything! The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu!
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Here's Len Thomas.
Thank you, Alexandria. We're looking at northbound I-15 in the Utah County area. Slow from Springville up through Provo to Orem, where there's a former vehicle fire that's just taking up one right lane, but it has never recovered from that. After you get past that, you're in pretty good shape all the way up to the Sandy area, where traffic's still a little bit slow to the south interchange, and you've got slow traffic on the 201 as you make your way from Bangor Highway over to the I-15, but not horrible, just a little bit slow. And then on I-80 eastbound coming out of Lake Point, that is slow, making your way up to the 201. And some slowing northbound, or rather southbound I-15 coming from North Salt Lake into the downtown area. Get ready for battle at the border September 6th at Heritage Park in Garden City. Experience thrilling competition, live entertainment, and family fun. Don't miss the action. Mark your calendar now. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Today will be sunny with highs reaching triple digits. It will be dry for the day, but tomorrow could be a different story. We're looking at some possible rain showers. It's going to be hot, but right now it is only 79 degrees. I'm Alexandria Bonilla from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
That's right. School's back in session.
School is back. Started yesterday, starts today for a lot of school districts, started Monday for others. It's been a week where I think most of our school districts are now up to speed.
Well, or at least getting there, right? So in our family, after weeks of anticipation and meticulous planning on our sixth grader's part, we only had one meltdown this morning. She was throwing some stuff across the room and crying because her shoelace came out of the shoelace hole and we had to put it back in.
That's really
and then she changed her clothes right before she had left to school. But she kind of smiled for her first day of school photos.
Well, that's great. That's great. That's wonderful. We are going to have the superintendent of Granite School District join us live at 10:05 as their first day of school gets going. But right now we have with us the communications director for Alpine School District. This is Dr.
Rich Stoll.
Dr. Rich Stoll. Why can't I find my notes here? Dr. Rich Stoll, Alpine School District Communications Director. Dr. Stoll, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me back on the program. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So, as you know, I live in Alpine School District, so our daughter is back in school, sixth grade, and we know it's the second to last first day of school for Alpine School District as it currently exists. But set the stage for us. How's the first day been so far?
So far, things are going smooth. Does it feel different? Can you feel the energy in your neighborhood, Holly? You know, all those kids so excited to get back, and our teachers are excited too because it's kind of game day, right? They've been preparing all summer for the students, and in a lot of cases, they're in new schools, new buildings. All the kids have new teachers, new administrative teams in some cases. So just a lot of opportunity for new stuff, and we love that.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny. I think it's just weird. It seems to be cool to say, I don't like school, but actually our sixth grader is really excited, and I'm excited too.
It always comes at just the right time for kids and for parents, I think.
Yeah.
Dr. Stoll, including in terms of the Alpine School District, you're not necessarily lame duck at this point. You got, I think the split occurs in 2027. But is there a different feel or different vibe this year, knowing that that's going to occur?
Well, a little bit. In some ways, you know, we're figuring out how to operate more efficiently. We know that resources are going to be tighter as we head into the split, so we're looking for ways to do things differently and to help out new school districts. But in many ways, that has really helped us to focus on our core mission. And I think that's been really helpful. And as you know, our core mission is to help students learn. So for the most part, what we feel like we can do best to help those new districts start off strong is to really focus on that. Just do what we do best. Let our teachers teach. Let them grow in their professional learning communities. Let our administrative teams lead out in that learning. And if we do that well, which I think we will because we've done it well for all these years, then those new school districts will be set up well. But at the district level, there certainly are lots of things we need to prepare for, and it does have a little bit of a different feel at the district office, yes.
I have a question for you that is not related to the split at all. It really has to do with weather right now. So we're going back in the middle of August. Today is supposed to be almost record-setting heat. What kind of resources are there available for teachers and students who maybe they don't want to go outside today?
Yeah, That's a good question. Many of our buildings are, in fact, I shouldn't say many, most of our buildings are climate controlled, and so there are options for kids to stay indoors if it gets too hot. And we have plans. Every school has a plan if there are poor air quality conditions or weather-related conditions that make it unsafe for kids to be outside. So I have a feeling today most kids will want to go outside because they're going to see their friends and they're going to want to hang out and play at recess. But certainly there are options for those. If it does get too hot, there's options to keep them inside and keep kids safe.
Dr. Stoll, we talked earlier this week about this chronic absenteeism that has been plaguing a lot of our schools. What is Alpine School District doing this year to encourage kids to come back and to encourage parents, I guess more importantly, to get their kids back in school instead of trying to do as much as they can from home?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's so important to have our kids in school. So a few things that come to mind. The first thing is our school administrative teams and faculties put a lot of effort into building communities. At one school, for instance, American Fork High School, the faculty went out and they knocked on doors of the incoming 10th graders. So these are sophomores who would be entering high school for the first time. They went in the summer and knocked on those doors and introduced themselves to make them feel welcome. So there's a real focus on building a student-focused community at the schools. Another thing is we're keeping our schools safe. We know that is a concern for parents, and the legislature has enacted some measures to enhance the safety of our buildings. We are leading out on that in Alpine. We're making our buildings physically secure, and we have implemented some new procedures that will keep kids safe during the school day. So we hope parents will understand that and know that the safest place that their kid can be during the day is at one of our schools. And then the last thing is that we should mention is we recognize that we can listen better. Heading into the creation of 3 new school districts, we know that we have an obligation to really understand what parents want from their local public education institutions. And so we are really trying to level up our listening, and our superintendent is listening to parents. We are amplifying those efforts to really find out what our parents want from us, and we're going to do our best to deliver.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Rich. I wish you all the best as you welcome all kids back to school. We were talking with Dr. Rich Stoll. He's the Alpine School District Communication Director, and again, that's the district where we send our kids, and American Fork High School was the high school where almost all of my high schoolers went.
And I think that's probably the biggest school district in the state, which is why it's being split into 3.
That is correct.
Well, back to school in the Alpine School District.
So be true to your school.
And be true to your school. Going back to school is not the only big event this week. We also had municipal elections yesterday. We'll talk about the early results when we come back after the break.
Can you believe it?
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary.
17 days until opening kickoff. This is your home for BYU football. Plus, breaking news and weather every morning. Listen for Andy and Amanda each morning when you get in the car. And Jeff Kaplan on the drive home on KSL News Radio.
The Social Security Administration just announced they are now projected to run out of money 1 year earlier than expected. Benefits could be cut by as much as 23%, and the average person could lose more than $100,000 in lifetime income. This news could significantly change when you file for Social Security. Discover how you could get every penny out of your benefits with a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. This free, customized analysis could help you get every penny out of Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Andy, my husband and I had Bedrock Quartz redo 3 bathrooms for us, 2 in the old house and 1 in the new house. And I loved working with them for so many reasons. One of which is that they're like a 4-generation family-owned business here in Utah that has been installing countertops and making beautiful kitchens and bathrooms for years and years.
Well, at my house, I suffer from what's called paralysis of choice. When you've got something as wide-ranging with the different types of counters that they offer with quartz, quartzite, like I didn't even know what the difference between those things are. I'm going to need that kind of help when I go through the process.
Oh, they have wonderful designers. Plus, when you go in their showrooms, it's super easy. At station number 1, you select your color and your material. Then you go to station number 2. And you pick out your backsplash, and then you go to number 3, and you select your faucets. It's so easy to do.
They've got what's called employee pricing for everyone. This is the first time they've ever offered this.
For the month of July through August, everyone gets the friends and family discount.
They've got 9 locations near you from Layton to St. George, including a new one in Salt Lake City. BedrockQuartz.com. That's BedrockQuartz.com.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Back to school is on the brain. That means new notebooks, pencils, new everything. And while the kids are getting ready to get book smart, it's time for you to save smart with Straight Talk Wireless. Switch now and get a free Moto G 2025 with 5G when you activate select plans. Now that's a smart call. Get Straight Talk covered by Verizon's 5G network. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Offer valid through 10/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Purchase of gold unlimited plan or higher required for offer. Must activate the plan in-store at Walmart. Cannot be combined with other offers.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section and after Dad's back injury. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Trouble with opioids can start at home with unused medicines, such as pills, patches, and syrups. You can remove the risk and protect your family. Find out how at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
The new Inside Sources.
Yesterday, we spoke about the fact that yesterday was municipal primary election day. Doesn't sound all that interesting, but it really was for a lot of cities around the state because if you think about it, and we talked about this yesterday, the municipal elections dealing with school boards, mayor, council, those type of things are really things that we address more closely if you're a resident in the city. It's something that affects you on a daily basis. And so those elections are no less important than the national ones that we'll have next year.
Right. Well, government closest to the people, right, is the one where A, you can influence the most, and B, it impacts your daily life, as you just mentioned. So we do have early results from the municipal elections. So these are not final, and there are I think it's a 2-week canvassing period, so it's going to be almost 2 weeks before we have the final results.
But you would expect, Holly, that these results, and they're not final, we do have 2 weeks, but given the way that we dealt with mail-in voting this year, that it had to be sooner, it had to be postmarked, and actually at the ballot before last night at 8 o'clock, it had to be at the clerk's office, and the fact that the polls closed at 8, we probably have some fairly accurate numbers so far.
At least decent, right? At least decent information. Yeah, you're right, because of the change in when ballots had to be in. So let's talk about some of those races.
Okay, so I was interested yesterday in two specifically, and I'll start with the first one and just get your take on it. Sandy City, Mayor Monica Zoltansky is the incumbent. I think it was her first term. I think she was running for re-election after one term. She had a number of challengers against her, including at least two from her own council. The one that came in second so far is Cindy Sharkey. It looks like the two of those will probably go on to the general election. Although the numbers for Monica were fairly significant, my own math put her at 58%, which is
pretty good.
Pretty good shape
Yeah.
right now. I would say that that her city council member friend Cindy Sharkey's got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah, and remember yesterday we were talking in general terms, and I said if you have a lot of people in one race, it'll favor the incumbent. Right. And I think it showed in that race. And
But you would also
others too.
think, if it favors an incumbent, you wouldn't expect the incumbent to get more than 50%. You know what I mean? Like you could split the half of the voters that are not crazy about the incumbent. Another thing about that race is we assume, although it's nonpartisan, that Zoltansky is the Democrat-leaning candidate and Sharkey's the Republican-leaning. Sandy City would seem to be a more conservative, Republican-leaning jurisdiction, but they seem to be liking their incumbent.
Yeah, and that happens in a lot of places. It didn't happen everywhere, but it does happen in most elections. Generally speaking, there is. I mean, you call it the incumbent advantage for a reason, right? So there is a tendency for voters, if they don't feel like there's a real issue, like if they don't have an itch that needs to be scratched because of the person who's in office already, then they'll just vote for the known quantity.
Well, let's go south 30 miles to Provo.
Yeah.
That was another one that I thought was interesting. I was personally watching that when incumbent Michelle Kafusi, who's probably served a couple of terms, came out of that with 49%. She did quite well. To me, a fairly unknown Marcia Judkins, although you seem to know her.
She's a former state legislator, so she was representing that area of Provo on Utah's Capitol Hill.
She had very, very good numbers as well. I mean, it was a close second, but Kafusi's got to feel pretty good about the fact that she's almost at 50% all by herself in that race.
Yeah. So there's several other races too. Tell me about up in your neck of the woods.
That one was interesting because we were.
You have a brand new city.
We were getting a brand new city up there, and so what they did was they had several council positions, mayor position, and they came out with the top two in each of those. I think the voting wasn't as impressive as I would have thought. We didn't have a lot of people voting, and I think there were 3 or 4 council seats, but the mayor position that came out of that so far seems to be between 2 people. I'm scrolling through it as quickly as I can here, and now I can't find it.
Are you Ogden Valley City? Is that
Ogden
the name?
Valley City, yes.
Okay, so it looks like Shanna Francis has almost 50%, and Janet Wampler is in second place with 39%.
Yeah,
basically.
okay, that's the one I was looking for.
And between the two of them, it's a total of 2,000 votes. So y'all don't have that many people up there.
Not a lot of people up there. It's a small jurisdiction, and it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds because that mayor is going to be a first-time mayor.
That's right.
Literally forming a city with
That's right.
with his or her, sounds like her, city council when they get going. So that'll be a lot of fun to see how that goes.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting also in Utah County, the race out in Eagle Mountain for mayor. So we did have an incumbent mayor out there, and I think we did, don't we, in Eagle Mountain? And he didn't do as well.
Didn't it usually they say that the person's an incumbent, and I don't see that on there, so I'm not sure whether that is an incumbent.
All right, so Eagle Mountain.
So and I know I want to get to this. The cities, there were I think 4 cities,
That's
Holly,
right.
that are using for the last time, at least in modern history. We'll see how it goes. Ranked choice voting.
That's right.
So we didn't have any elections in Salt Lake City, Mill Creek, Midvale, and South Salt Lake.
Right.
Those 4 jurisdictions are using ranked choice voting, which means 2 things. One, the filing period for candidates starts today. It's for a week.
Started yesterday, actually.
Oh, the 12th. That's
Yep,
right.
yep.
12th through the 19th. I thought today was the 12th. Anyway, and so candidates are filing now for those positions. And 2, they go straight to the general election,
right.
and there's ranked choice voting
Yep.
where they vote for the
You pick your
candidates,
favorites.
pick a number, and
Yep.
then it kind of scrolls through a system
Yep.
that you described yesterday that
Yeah.
even though I was a math major once,
No.
I didn't fully appreciate it.
Your top person rises to the top of the list. So so I saw announcements on social media yesterday for people who do live in those areas and are running. And so that'll be interesting. But remember, these are, as we talk about these initial results, the top 2 vote getters are going to be going on the general election ballot. So we have these municipal races, we have the school board races in Alpine School District. So again, top 2 vote getters coming out of the primary will be the ones on the general election ballot. And that is the first Tuesday in November, which is November 4th. And ballots, if you can believe it, for that one will be mailed out. It feels like it's really soon. It's the middle of October, or towards the beginning of October, actually. But it feels like that's just around the corner, especially if you go to the stores and see all the Halloween stuff that's up.
You know what I thought was pleasing about those is looking at the results and just seeing, for example, just a city council position in some random city where you see 7 or 8 candidates. It seems like people are interested in the political process, and people are jumping in, knowing that only 2 are going to move on. You've got, and it's across the board. It's across the state where we have a number of candidates running for positions. And of course, the only ones that we're voting on are those that would have more than 2 candidates. So there's no reason to do it otherwise. But there are a lot of people that are excited about running for office. And we haven't even got to the school board positions because in your district alone, Alpine, there were some, how many?
77 filed, 7 dropped out, but there were 70 total candidates for 21 positions.
Right, running for 7 positions in each of 3 districts. So a lot of people running in these various. I don't know. To me, that just seemed exciting.
Yeah, it is. And, political involvement, again, if you start at the local level and say that's really where the rubber meets the road, these municipal elections may not get as much attention sometimes, but they really are important because they're the ones that affect our daily lives most directly.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but our own Senator Curtis, before he was a senator, was a representative. And before that, he was the mayor of Provo, wasn't he?
That is correct.
And so I'm not necessarily a relative unknown because he did a great job at every level, but that's where you get your name known. That's where you get your, boy, this person's a hard worker. They're committed to what they're doing. He's done some innovative things. Let's consider him at the next level. And,
and
Provo mayor to
he went. That's right. He went to the federal level, but there are a number of people who are involved either in city council or on the mayoral level who end up at the state capitol because they run for office then, right? And there are some on the Hill right now who have that experience. Not enough sometimes, it feels like, because sometimes it feels like the state legislature makes decisions that impact cities, and you can tell the people who have municipal experience because they'll speak up and say, hey, it's obvious that you have never been a mayor. It's obvious that, the state coming in and telling cities how they need to, do XYZ policy. They'll speak up and say, look, I've been in city government and you're being too heavy-handed here.
Here's one statistic that didn't make me necessarily happy. I'm looking at voter turnout, and I know it was a municipal election, and I know it was a primary election, but voter turnout right now looks to be right about 20%.
That's so sad.
Disappointing numbers. I mean, the election's over for this year, but boy,
well,
let's get out.
Only the municipal. They can vote in the general.
Vote in the general, but that's what I mean. This election is over, but let's show up and support these candidates at the next level and at the next election, which is coming up in November. When we come back after the break, Ralph Menzies is scheduled to be executed on September 5th. But for the next 3 days, starting today, his attorneys will be arguing that his dementia makes him unfit for execution and his sentence should be changed to life in prison. It's called a commutation hearing, scheduled to go 3 days. We'll talk about that after this.
It's 9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour, Layton City is closing 2 softball fields after people on e-bikes vandalized them. KSL News Radio's Virl Johansson has the story.
Officials say the e-bike riders displaced the top cap and subsurface on the fields. Looking at pictures from the city, it looks like they were doing donuts all over the infield. According to the city's website, the only softball fields at city parks are at Ellison Park, which means they now only have 1 playable field. Officials say it's going to take extensive repairs to make the field safe to play on again. They're asking the public to contact the Layton City Police Department if they know anything about the incident. Virl Johansson, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A 20-year-old pilot ended up getting stranded in the Antarctica region after what Chilean authorities claim was an illegal flight to the southern continent. Ethan Guo has been flying around the world fundraising for cancer and is now speaking out about his arrest.
20-year-old Ethan Guo is 1 year into his flight against cancer, flying from the U.S. to Europe to the Middle East and beyond in hopes of raising $1 million for St. Jude's. But his trip was derailed when his flight from Chile to Argentina took an unexpected turn. Guo telling our Danny New an in-flight emergency forced him to make an unexpected landing on King George Island, a remote area with strict regulations for incoming air traffic.
ABC's Lionel Moise reporting. Your money at this moment, things are in the green. The Dow is up 331 points. The S&P has gained 8 points. The Nasdaq has gained 7 points. Coming up, it's hot out there. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
It's the final countdown during Motorsportsland's summer clearance event. We've got to make room for next year's inventory, so now's your chance to save tens of thousands on in-stock models before they're gone. Chase sunsets, roast marshmallows, and make memories that stick long after the trip is over. Want adventure on a budget? You're in luck. We have travel trailers from just $6 a day and fifth wheels starting under $14 a day. Whether it's quick weekend getaways or long summer road trips, we've got the RV to fit your lifestyle. And remember, our prices include freight, prep, propane, and even personalized RV training at no extra charge. Other dealers, they'll stack on outrageous fees and pretend it's standard. But at Motorsportsland, we don't play that game. We've been family-owned and proudly local for over 55 years, doing business the honest way. So skip the gimmicks, shop where the pros shop, and let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Motorsportsland.com.
Have old jewelry you never wear? A diamond that's been passed down but doesn't quite feel like you? At Duke's Jewelers, they specialize in remounting and custom design. Whether it's refreshing a cherished heirloom or creating something completely new, they'll help you bring your vision to life. Bring in your own diamonds, gemstones, or even gold. They'll start with a one-on-one consultation, sketch ideas together, and create detailed CAD renderings so you can see exactly what your new piece will look like. They even offer 3D resin models, so you can try it on before it's in production. It's personal, it's collaborative, and it's all done with the quality and care you've come to expect from a fourth-generation jeweler. Visit Duke's Jewelers in Springville, where your old treasures become new favorites. That's Duke's Jewelers. DukesJewelers.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does your job require you to be on your feet all day? Teachers, postal carriers, salespeople, and restaurant staff. Many of us need our feet to get us through the day. Hi, this is Mike with the Good Feet store, and I'd like you to hear from Donna. She's a nurse and a real customer of the Good Feet store who wanted to share her story.
Oh, I have to tell you, I have struggled with pain in my feet. I was diagnosed with plantar fasciitis. With the 3-step program, it really fits to your lifestyle. I work in a hospital. I'm a registered nurse, so being on my feet, walking throughout the hospital during the day, I am free from any type of pain. And after working a 12-hour shift, I go home and my feet do not hurt.
Whether you're a nurse or anyone wanting to enjoy work without your feet getting in the way, come see us at the Good Feet store.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Schedule your free test walk at goodfeet.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account. Here's Len Thomas.
Thank you, Britt. As we look at the drive now, it's looking a lot better than it had earlier this morning, but we have a crash in Lehigh just prior to the 2100 north, northbound I-15, the right lane and shoulder blocked on the off-ramp. Otherwise, keep an eye on that emergency maintenance on 200 North State. It's southbound just south of the Capitol. I-15 now marching along, a little bit of slowing still from Provo up to Orem, and then again through the Murray area. Otherwise, I-80 out there at Lake Point looks all cleared up right now as the high volume of the rush hour is gone. Mortgage rates are going down. Take advantage. Visit loansbyrick.com at Vintage Lending. Loansbyrick.com. NMLS 241179. Equal opportunity lender. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, sunny with highs reaching triple digits. It'll be dry today, but we're looking at maybe some possible rain showers coming up as we approach the weekend. Right now, it's already 81 degrees and sunny. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Utah death row inmate Ralph Menzies is scheduled to be executed on September 5th, but for the next 3 days, beginning today, his attorneys will be arguing that his dementia makes him unfit for execution and that his sentence should be changed to life in prison.
So, we've talked about the Menzies case several times during this show recently, and I still have the same question. Nobody's talking about him getting out of prison, but I think he's relatively young. And even though they say he has dementia, this isn't what they're arguing. They're not arguing on competency again, because they already found that he was competent to be executed. So why are they trying to go back and say, well, he actually can't be executed?
It is based somewhat on competency, and that is saying this. Competency, you're right, competency is not the right word. Dementia is. They're saying because of his dementia, should his sentence be commuted? Should it be reduced? And reduced isn't even the great word for it. Changed, yeah, because he's facing the death penalty. That's coming up on September 5th. That's, what, three weeks away.
Yeah.
And the question is, should that proceed, or should his sentence be commuted to life in prison? And again, at the time he was convicted, we didn't have our current law, life in prison without the possibility of parole. But they're saying that the board could actually order that in this case. I don't know how they can impose a sentence that didn't exist at the time of his conviction, but that seems to be on the table. Now, Utah does things a little differently than some states, because often you would expect to, go to the governor and ask for a break or ask for a commutation or something like that. Ours is done by the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole, and I think pardon is the operative word there, because this is going to be a hearing before the 5-member Board of Pardons. It's like a trial in that you're in a courtroom type setting. It's out at the prison, actually, a conference room. The attorneys can present their case much as they would in front of a judge, although I assume a lot of it's argument instead of putting on witnesses. And the board's going to hear that case for 3 days. Today will be the defendants, Menzies' attorneys, making their case for why he shouldn't be executed. And I think they're going to lean very heavily, Holly, on his mental health problem, his dementia, his continued dementia. And he's not that old. I mean, he's 67, I think, which is not that old. Yeah, younger than I am.
A little older than me.
Yeah, so you expect that but he's also been in prison for 40-some-odd years. That's got to take a toll on your competency. And because of your lack of, just mental stimulus. But at any rate, they're claiming that he does have some level of dementia and that he should be commuted to life in prison because he doesn't appreciate what's going on anymore. So that will be argued. Then the state's attorneys will argue what they've argued successfully at every level so far, which is not only did he do the crime, but he was convicted and he's competent and he knew what he was doing at the time and he knows what's going on now. And then they're going to hear from the victim's family about what they think about this thing. And that's a tough one. But the victim's family is allowed to speak at a commutation hearing because they have input under our Victims' Bill of Rights and just by common sense to have input in what happens with respect to someone who did something so awful to their family.
Yeah. So the victim in this case was Maureen Hunsaker, and it's been almost 40 years. Was it like 39 years, 1986,
right,
where she, if I remember the story, he ended up kidnapping her, tying her to a tree, slitting her throat, letting her die.
Right.
She thought she was going to be released, if I remember, and then she ended up being murdered, and so he's been on death row now for, I don't know, 37 years or however long it's been since the trial and sentencing. But we spoke last week with her son, and it was Matt Hunsaker. He's been on several times, but he told us what his expectations are for this hearing.
What my understanding is that they're basically going to go in and argue the same thing that they're argued for Judge Bates, and that they will argue in front of the Supreme Court that he is incompetent, that he doesn't understand, and so forth. But again, everybody's up to their interpretation of this, of whether he should be executed or not. And me and my family stand by the fact that there's been nothing presented that he is not capable of understanding what's going on.
And I'm also just looking at the court docket right now. His attorneys have filed other sort of follow-up petitions regarding his competency with the trial court as well.
Oh, wow.
Now, that was heard by the trial court. They filed an appeal to the Supreme Court, which didn't set it aside. They filed another updated, hey, his dementia is continuing, he's getting worse and worse and worse. And they filed another one just within the last week or so, which the judge hasn't ruled on. So there are actually sort of two avenues that are being played here by his attorneys. One is with the trial court, who wasn't the trial court at the time 40 years ago, but the current judge that's assigned to the case. And the second is to the Board of Pardons. But they're working, the defense attorneys are working fast and furious, as they always do in death penalty cases, to try to save his life. But right now, by all accounts, it seems like there's going to be an execution by firing squad at the Utah State Penitentiary on September 5th.
So you mentioned they're pursuing two different avenues. So what options does Menzies have after this, right? Will they go to the Utah Supreme Court?
Probably on both issues, but the Supreme Court heard the last appeal very quickly. I mean, when the judge decided that he was competent enough to proceed with the execution, they appealed to the Utah Supreme Court, and they didn't see any reason to set it aside. So I assume the Utah Supreme Court will be on the ready for this, and that they're not going to say, hey, let's brief it, and we'll see you in 60 days, and we'll have argument.
Right.
I think they're going to look at what the judge and the board decides, and I think the Supreme Court will usually defer to the Board of Pardons because they're sort of separate jurisdictions almost, separate sovereigns. That's not the right word either,
Right.
but they make their own decisions.
They're independent
and
of each other.
The Supreme Court's not likely to set aside a decision by the Board of Pardons or vice versa, but they can oversee what the trial court decides on the latest petition to redetermine or reevaluate his competency. So that's moving forward as well. But right now, it seems like we're going to have our first firing squad since, I don't know, it's been a long time since we had the last firing squad.
14 years, maybe something like that.
Tabarrone Honey was executed by
lethal injection.
And I should say this about the commutation hearing, because a lot of people are saying, this is an unusual proceeding. It is an absolute usual proceeding. In death penalty cases, there is almost always, and I could look back on Tabarrone Honey, for example, Ronnie Lee Gardner. They both had commutation hearings in the days or weeks leading up to their execution. Again, it's a final shot with the Board of Pardons. It's a final opportunity to present your case to the ultimate authority that can pardon you, because the governor can't.
Yeah, in Utah,
the President of the United
governor
States can't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's up to the Board of Pardons, and to say, look, is there any chance? Is there any reason why we can't save this man's life? And right now, Utah law seems to be favoring his execution, at least the courts that have decided and everyone that's weighed in, and I don't see that changing by the Board of Pardons, but I don't know. I don't want to pretend to speak for them.
Well, look, when we talked with Matt Hunsaker last week, he shared with us what he wanted our listeners to know about his mom, Maureen, who was killed by Menzies.
She's an amazing woman. There's never going to be a woman in my life or in my eyes that can compare to her. I was her focus. She had 2 other young kids. My little sister was 5 months old. My little brother was 1.5 years. And I know for a fact, looking back, that we were everything to her. And she worked hard. She took care of us. She was very involved in our lives. She was involved in my sports as a young kid. It's a travesty what has happened, what was taken away from us. My little sister's never going to know anything about her but the stories. And she just was a great woman. She didn't deserve, honestly, what happened to her.
So stay with us through the break. When we come back, we'll be talking with the executive director of the Downtown Alliance about the businesses that burned yesterday, the day before yesterday. It's coming up, streaming live on KSLNewsRadio.com, and we're on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
Not every victory has fireworks. Sometimes it's a quiet win, like tying your shoes without gasping, walking upstairs without pausing, or being able to sit cross-legged on the floor and play with your kids. That's what soda gave me. I lost 82 pounds in just 16 weeks. And with it went the weight, the aches, the excuses. But what I gained, confidence, energy, time, and a version of myself I thought was long gone. Soda didn't overwhelm me with rules or leave me starving. I ate real food. I learned what my body needed. And the personal nutritionist, game changer. They were there with answers, encouragement, and real solutions. If you're looking for your own quiet win, this is your moment. If it worked for me, it will work for you. Go to SodaWeightLoss.com, click the Request a Nutritionist callback. It's time. You can do it. SodaWeightLoss.com. SOTA, SodaWeightLoss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Have you seen those billboards that have a giant turtle on them that say, win a new air conditioner? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you're probably wondering, what's that all about? Well, the turtle is a character in our new TV commercials that'll be airing this summer. I know it's kind of silly, but we're always trying to figure out how to grab attention and stand out in a crowded market. We thought a big turtle would do the trick. Another thing we're doing is every week this summer, Any Hour is giving away an air conditioner to one lucky customer. We're calling it the Coolest Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how it works. This summer, if you get an estimate to replace your air conditioner or purchase a new air conditioner from Any Hour Services, you'll automatically be entered into our weekly drawing. If your name is drawn, Any Hour will pay for your air conditioner, up to $8,750. We just want to meet more homeowners that are in the market for a new air conditioner and have the chance to earn their business. We're confident that once you have an Any Hour technician in your home, you'll see why we have over 28,000 Google reviews. No purchase is necessary. See official rules at anyhour.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
We want to continue our coverage of the devastating Main Street fire that occurred Monday night in Salt Lake City. Before we do that, Holly, you had a texter at the end of the last session that I just think deserves an answer.
So they asked if the members of the Board of Pardons, are they attorneys, are they judges, or are they lay people?
So they are not judges. You couldn't serve as a judge and a member of the Board of Pardons at the same time, although some people go back and forth between we have current judges who are former members of the Board of Pardons and vice versa. But they are either attorneys or members of the public. Right now we have one that's a former probation officer, several that are former attorneys. So yeah, the governor appoints them, but there's no strict requirement that they be an attorney or judge or law trained or something like that.
Thanks for answering that.
Yesterday we talked about the fire that occurred on the 3rd South block of Main Street, the east side of that street. It took out 4 restaurants and bars. We heard Salt Lake City Mayor Mendenhall talk about that tragic loss.
It's a tragic loss for Salt Lake City. Los Tapatillos, London Bell, White Horse, and Whiskey Street are at the heart of what Salt Lake City's downtown vibe is. And I think there's a lot of tears being shared among Salt Lakers that see the devastating damage here tonight.
Yeah, those are 4 restaurants, really kind of high-end, nice, fairly new, upbeat restaurants. I mean, that's a really fun area of Salt Lake at night if you like the downtown vibe. I've been to two of them, but the ones that are burned and have been destroyed are Whiskey Street and Whitehorse, which I think are associated with one another. Los Tapatíos and London Bell. I'm not as familiar with those, but those were all like 321, 325, 3 whatever, South Main Street, pretty much destroyed. I mean, the fire started, I think what they were saying yesterday, as in the kitchen of London Bell. I don't know that that's necessarily true.
Don't quote you
that's
on
kind
it.
of what that's kind of what the fire chief was thinking happened. It doesn't matter. I mean, whatever happened.
Right.
But it caused a huge fire. I think it ended up being a 3-alarm fire, and something like close to 80 firefighters
that's right.
responded at some point.
And I know, look, it left more than 200 employees without work. And that's one of the issues, right, is you want to be able to live and work in downtown Salt Lake. But if you just lost your job, 200 people just instantly lost their jobs, that is going to have a big impact.
Yeah, and the Salt Lake City Downtown Alliance has launched what they're calling the Main Street Fire Employee Assistance Program. 100% of the donations going directly to employees displaced by the fire to help cover essential expenses such as rent, groceries, transportation during this difficult time. Donations can be made at downtownslc.org. That's downtownslc.org.
Well, we actually have the executive director of the Downtown Alliance with us, and it's Dee Brewer. First of all, welcome to the show, and sorry about the loss in downtown Salt Lake.
Thank you, Holly. And, it's been quite a week, of course, for some people who had some devastating loss. But it's also been a week where we've seen the community rally together in a really beautiful way to support those businesses and those employees. About 250 people woke up Tuesday morning unemployed, not expecting that. And we appreciate that you were sharing the site where people can donate, because there is an immediate need by those individuals as they bridge to the next thing they're going to do.
So, Dee, is that what the program is for, is to help the employees themselves maintain some level of income while they get back on their feet and while these businesses get rebuilt?
That's right, Greg. The business owners and the property owners we're in communication with, they have insurance and they are committed to rebuilding, but that is going to take time. Frontline employees, and we're talking about the servers and bartenders and service staff, they have very immediate needs, and that's why we're focusing our attention there. And we're doing that through the employers who know those folks best and know what the needs are.
So could you share with our listeners some of the history of those buildings? They've been around for a while, haven't they?
Yeah, these are beautiful adobe brick, one-story buildings. They house local businesses. They have for many years. I understand that this row of 4 or 5 businesses was originally a theater. Salt Lake City was rich with performance theaters from the origins of Salt Lake City. And we continue to very much be an all arts and culture destination. Well, over the years, those locations became jewelers and bookstores and restaurants. And now those buildings and those restaurants are the epicenter of the downtown social economy. As devastating as that loss is, there are 220 restaurants, bars, merchants operating downtown. And, we have heard from those other restaurants who are trying to find ways to help. They're offering jobs to some of those folks. I was just looking at the list of people who are donating at the website and was very impressed to see some of the largest donations were from other restaurant operators.
I worked in a building just two or three doors south of the fire, and I know that area, and I think that the Downtown Alliance and the city administration has done such a great job because it was such a vibrant area. I mean, it still is, but those were businesses in that entire block that are just so fun. And if you go there at night, it just seems like there's a great vibe there. There's a lot going on, and it's an exciting main street that we didn't have or enjoy 20, 30 years ago.
I'm glad you were able to work in that area, and I have worked in this area for a long time too. And you're absolutely right. Our economy downtown is really driven by visitation, by people who do not live or work downtown. That's conventioneers. That's people coming in with a ticket to a jazz game or a show at the Eccles Theater. And that particular block we're talking about changes people's idea. I'm thinking of the conventioneers and other out-of-state visitors who come here with very provincial ideas about what Salt Lake City is. And then they land on that block and see that we are a vibrant, multi-cultural, multi-disciplinary, that there's so much more variety in this place than they expected. So that's part of why we need to rebuild and rebuild better and continue to surprise and delight the people who visit Salt Lake City.
So, Dee, I know that other business owners in the area are concerned that maybe the loss of these bars and restaurants could mean loss for them too, less foot traffic, those types of things. Are you concerned about other businesses that are close to where the fire happened?
I have to be honest and tell you, yes, I'm concerned about them. And that's why my team and I will be having some bites and some beverages there this week. And we encourage others to frequent the businesses on that street and throughout downtown. This is not a deal stopper, right? This is not. This doesn't mean that you can't come downtown. These are 4 businesses that will be fenced off and begin some demolition and rebuilding, but there is very much a social economy happening downtown. And we're, summers are a little soft anyway as we all go to the mountains to play, but the busy times at restaurants really ramps up in September, and I hope everybody will enjoy the vitality in that area and across the downtown.
So if I understand you correctly, Dean, we've only got about a minute left. That area, that Third South area, is still open, vibrant. Just the 4 units are fenced off, but other restaurants, bars, civic places in that area should be visited and can be visited. Is that right?
That's right. There are 13 or 14 businesses just within a half block of where the fire was. And as I said, 220 restaurants, bars, cafes, merchants across the downtown area.
Thank you for speaking with us today. That was Dee Brewer, the Executive Director of the Downtown Alliance.
You don't think about there being 200 some odd
right
bars, restaurants. I mean, that's a lot, but it is just a fun area, and Salt Lake's done a good job with that.
Look, we're going to continue our coverage for the first day of school, and one issue that parents worry about, I know, is safety in the schools, in the classrooms. We're going to talk about Utah's School Guardian program as well as other safety measures after the break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. The Alpine, Provo, and Granite school districts are all welcoming kids back to the classroom this morning. It's also the opening day for the newly built Sage Canyon Middle School in Eagle Mountain.
To have just this brand new school with incredible classrooms, great technology, everything's pretty well state of the art.
Principal Brian Jolly says the school is welcoming 1,500 kids to class today. Neighboring businesses to the ones that burned down on Main Street in Salt Lake City say they're grateful they're still standing, but they're worried about the long-term impact this fire will have on them and the area as a whole.
Those were some very busy businesses that brought a lot of traffic down here, and it really helped.
Brian Raybold owns Array Salon. He tells KSL TV he's worried his and other businesses could lose patrons with those 4 bars and restaurants now gone. He says he hopes they're able to rebuild and that the community can come together to help one another. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The German government says Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is in Berlin today for talks with European leaders about the war with Russia. This is in advance of Russian President Vladimir Putin's meeting with President Trump on Friday. Your money at this moment, things are still up in the green. The Dow has gained 359 points. The S&P is up 13 points. That's almost 0.25%. The NASDAQ has gained 38 points. Coming up, we're going to break the 100-degree mark today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
What was that?
That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
Americans may not agree on much, but we agree on Social Security. We all pay in. It ought to be there when we need it. Social Security could face a funding gap in less than a decade, and I don't want to see a pay cut. I'm with AARP in the fight to protect the Social Security we earned.
Pledge to protect Social Security at aarp.org/weearnedit. That's aarp.org/weearnedit. Paid for by AARP.
You've lived with the pain long enough. The missed meals, covered smiles, the moments you've avoided because of your teeth. If you're living with missing or broken teeth or struggling with dentures, take your life back. Stubbs Dental Implant Center has helped thousands reclaim their health, confidence, and joy with permanent dental implants. What do Stubbs Dental patients say?
I'm no longer in pain, and I can finally be myself again after getting dental implants. I just wish I would have gone to Stubbs Dental sooner.
I was at a denture for 10 years before I got dental implants. My life has completely changed thanks to Stubbs Dental.
You know, I hated looking at myself in the mirror. Getting dental implants from Stubbs Dental has been life-changing.
As a 3-time Best of State winner with over 2,500 5-star Google reviews, Stubbs Dental doesn't just fix teeth, they change lives. Visit StubbsDental.com today to reserve your free consultation. A $350 value completely free. StubbsDental.com.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for never giving up and always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for letting me know what you expect, so I can try to meet your expectations.
Thank you for talking.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Here's Len Thomas.
Well, Brett, still looking at that emergency maintenance on 200 North State, southbound, just south of the Capitol to be aware of. And we have a crash on the west side belt, southbound on I-215 at the ramp at 4700 South and left shoulder. And in Utah County, a crash northbound I-15 at Geneva Road in Orem on the right shoulder. Traffic is moving along very well, though, on the freeways and byways in the Wasatch Front cities right now. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Salt Lake City is predicted to reach 101 degrees today, just shy of setting a record. But we will get a push of monsoon moisture, which could bring a few scattered showers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Right now, it's already 85 degrees and sunny. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Back to school, Holly.
I know. Yes, it's back to school time, and we have several major school districts that went back to school today. So we've talked with Alpine School District already, but we also know we have Provo and Nebo and Juab, I think, and we also have Granite School District in Salt Lake County. And we have Ben Horsley. He's the superintendent of Granite School District on the line with us today. Thanks for joining us, Ben.
Glad to be here.
Hey, Ben, I have to say, I am a product of Granite School District. I went to Woodstock.
And we are proud to have you as a product.
Woodstock Elementary, Bonneville Junior, and Cottonwood High. Are those schools still in full vigor?
They are all still there, working hard, turning out great graduates like you. Colts are great. We're so happy to have you be part of our distinguished alumnus.
Thanks, Ben. So tell our listeners what it's like. What's going on with back to school today?
Well, I've been up since 4:30 and been out to about a dozen sites. Cypress High School is a brand new building, and so a lot of excited kids and families out there. I'm pretty sure every family in Magna personally dropped off their kid this morning because the traffic was pretty snarled up. But great first day so far. I'm actually out at Fremont Elementary right now in Taylorsville community, and I was up at Olympus High earlier today.
Wow. How many students do you have approximately in Granite School District?
We estimate we'll be a little over 53,000 this year. That's actually a little bit down from last year. We're actually expecting to be about 1,700 students lower than we were last year. We are a declining enrollment district, and we do expect that our population will continue to decline over the next few years.
Wow. One of the things that's interesting, too, is this stat. How many languages do you have spoken at your schools?
We have one school that has over 96 different languages spoken by the families in that particular community. And at one point, we had over 104. So we are actually one of the most diverse districts this side of the Mississippi, believe it or not, even more diverse than LA Unified, which is one of the largest school districts in the nation.
Wow.
Ben, we've talked this week earlier about what we call chronic absenteeism and what various schools and various districts are doing about that. What's Granite School District doing? After the pandemic, it just seems like it's been so hard to get kids back to school on a full-time basis.
Well, I think the key to that is just engaging with our parents and our families and helping them understand the importance that every day actually does in fact count. And especially for our younger grades where kids don't have the ability to monitor and their progress and be able to catch up. So we just really try to engage with families to the highest degree possible and help them understand the importance of being there every single day.
That's great. Hey, so Ben, I want to ask you about school safety. So I'm a parent still of a child in school, and I worry about her safety when she's at school. And I know Utah passed the School Guardian program, and it's starting to be implemented. What does that look like in Granite School District?
Well, as you're likely aware, HB 84 does require armed security on all of our campuses as long as school, bell to bell, essentially, when school is in session. So that was not a problem in our secondary schools. We primarily had SROs or actual police officers from allied agencies or from Granite District Police covering those roles. But to actually expand that service to armed secure all of our 60 roughly elementary schools, that's quite an undertaking and actually a huge expense. And that was actually one of the reasons we had to increase taxes this last budget cycle was to pay for that ongoing expense that's kind of new and unfunded from the state. So it's a good program. We do believe we want to make sure people know that if you come into one of Granite School District schools, you're going to be intending to do harm. You're going to be faced with armed security. We're going to do whatever we can to keep our students safe. But that is an expensive measure, and we'll continue to make progress on that. We're hoping to get more guardians in place throughout the school year and expand that program.
Ben, I'm a little naive about this, but can a guardian serve in a dual role? For example, can they be a teacher or administrator or a counselor and a guardian, or are they really dedicated to that guardian process?
Well, that's the challenge. Is we could hire a full-time police officer to carry out that role. That's the most expensive option. A police officer with benefits is over $150,000, sometimes upwards of $200,000, depending on their level of experience with retirement and benefits. You could hire a rent-a-cop, pay for that type of service. That's almost as expensive. And then that person's really not doing anything else in the school. The Guardian program does allow for community volunteers. We have chosen a route where we are paying a stipend and a bonus to already eligible employees to get trained and to be able to carry the weapon and be the guardian for their respective schools. And we're having more than one in every location. So we want to have as many as we possibly can within the budget constraints that we do have. So there's a little bit of redundancy built in. But unless you're in a school that has less than 350 students in it, that guardian cannot be a classroom teacher or the principal. It has to be a secretary, a custodian, or somebody that doesn't have direct responsibility over a child. So only in our smallest schools, which we do have some of those, it has to be somebody other than a teacher or an administrator.
And is there some level of training that an individual would have to go through to serve as a school guardian?
Correct. That's handled by the county, and we work with within our police department to actually train those guardians and supervise them. But there is established protocols and training to not only carry and house the weapon, but to address a threat and a safety issue.
So, Ben, can you tell us what other safety measures might be in place besides this Guardian program? Are your doors locked? Do you have panic buttons? What other things are in place?
All the above, and we really don't go into a tremendous amount of detail with security because we don't want to divulge, obviously, to potential adversaries that what we're doing what we are doing. But in fact, on all Granite School District schools, you have to access the school through a single access entry point. Even though there's multiple ways to exit the building, all of our buildings are key carded at this point in time and have secure vestibules that direct you to the front office. And then we have administration and SROs that help man at the high schools where we don't have that capacity, where we do need to have more than one entry available. But we just finished rebuilding Cypress, obviously, and that is a single access entry. That building, the old campus, was almost over 100 years old in some parts of that building, had, I think, 108 different entry points, and now it has one single entry where everybody comes in. And so it's a lot easier to secure that type of facility, and we'll continue to make those types of upgrades to our buildings as we have the funding to do so.
And Ben, what kind of upgrades can our parents expect with respect to traffic safety and crossing guards and whatnot as their kids are going to these schools, especially the kids that walk?
Yeah, I think that's actually a critical issue. We've seen local law enforcement has oversight over crossing guards and traffic signals. We work hand in hand with our local schools to develop safe walking routes. We do try to encourage walking to the highest degree possible, and you're going to see an active presence in school crossing zones and active enforcement of those provisions and those laws. So be on the watch out for kids. They're out and about. We'd encourage kids who do walk to school to walk with somebody, and what we call a walking school bus. Coordinate with your neighbors and other people who live on your street, and take the kids to school as a group, as opposed to one-offs and singles. And then make sure your kids know and identify safe places along their route that they could stop in if they feel unsafe for any reason.
Thanks, Ben. I wish we had another minute because I really wanted to sing the Cottonwood High School Colt fight song for you, but we'll save that for another day. When we come back after the break, can AI detect guns? They're trying it out in Texas. We will continue our conversation about safety in schools as well. That's coming up. And remember, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by @YourServicePros.
Some things never change. Sure, we've expanded Inside Sources to 3 hours on KSL, and it's on 9 to noon. But the news, traffic reports, and weather updates that have been a part of your ride in the car since before you can remember, always there. And that will never change. Find us in your car at 102.7 FM.
I used to get overwhelmed at the grocery store. One minute I'm reading a label that says healthy. Next thing I know, it's packed with sugar and stuff I can't pronounce. That's when Soda stepped in. When I started the program, I didn't just get a food plan, I got a lifeline. I lost 82 pounds in 16 weeks. But more than that, I learned how to eat smart, shop smart, Stay on track even when life gets messy. I could text my Soda nutritionist from aisle 5 and get instant help. That's support you don't get from a label. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being prepared. And with Soda, I finally felt in control of my health and my habit. Go to SODAWeightLoss.com. SODAWeightLoss.com. SOTA. It stands for State of the Art. Click the Request Nutritionist callback. Get to it. You can do it. You know how I know you can do it? Because I did it. SODAWeightLoss.com. SODAWeightLoss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
We're with Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern Team Owamata Real Estate. Thanks for joining us this morning, Russell. Can you tell us what's going on with the real estate market in Utah right now?
Yeah, so right now, kind of the big thing is our interest rates. They're the lowest they've been since April. And so for buyers that have been kind of waiting for that lower interest rate, that's now. We've seen it. And then as far
Seriously?
Yeah.
Because we hear from the Fed that, hey, we're not doing anything, but they're competitive interest rates now.
Yeah, I mean, we're still in the sixes, right? And so kind of the thing I continue to preach is we're in a normal, balanced market. Even though it doesn't feel like it, we've got about 4 months of inventory, which is not necessarily a buyer's market, not necessarily a seller's market. But with the lower inventory, even though it's up, it's still kind of at a point that prices are holding. So we've been about $500,000 as the median price all year. We're about $510,000 right now. So we're just kind of holding right now, and buyers are able to go in and negotiate, and sellers are still getting all-time highs for their home.
You know, I just received my property tax notice, and it's always interesting to look at it and say, well, how much does the state or the county think that I should pay, right? What would I do if I felt like it was too high?
Yeah, so the good thing is you can actually appeal those. And so that's what I wanted to go, we'll go through the couple segments today. But the first thing is we start by checking the recent sales. So we look at comparable sales and see, do we have a case? And if so, then we start gathering the information that you would need to appeal it.
We want to talk to you more about that later. Where can people find out more about the Stern Team?
Yeah, so the best place is sternteam.com or simply Google the Stern Team.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s. And less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-917-4635 and you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-917-4635. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-917-4635 now to secure your $10 Gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-917-4635.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma!
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Inside Sources.
So, Greg, my favorite topic, of course, is AI. Not really, but it's really an interesting topic.
My least favorite.
No, it's super interesting. But we're talking today about AI gun detection in schools, and it's in the works now in Uvalde, Texas. It comes after a gunman killed 19 students, remember, and 2 teachers. It was such a terrible story, especially because of what felt like delayed police involvement, et cetera. But now they're gonna try out AI.
Yeah, and the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District is working to implement artificial intelligence to detect firearms and trigger immediate lockdowns. Let's take a moment and learn more from News Nation's Allie Bradley.
Deep in the heart of Texas, the Uvalde School District has become synonymous with school shootings and unimaginable loss. On May 24th, 2022, a gunman opened fire, killing 19 students and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary. A Justice Department report found cascading failures by law enforcement during the attack. 3 years later, the district is turning to an innovative technology to make sure that never happens again. A company called OmniAlert uses artificial intelligence to detect guns and alert authorities within seconds, hopefully before any shots are fired.
If the shooter brandished the gun outside on camera, the system would have activated and been able to help.
The Uvalde School District received a $400,000 grant from the company to install the AI in cameras across the district.
The sooner that you know there's a threat on your campus, the sooner you can respond.
Its CEO says the grant was created in the aftermath of the Robb Elementary tragedy.
After Uvalde, it really was a dramatic awakening.
So how does it work? The OmniAlert AI scans existing security cameras for visible firearms, spotting a threat, verifying it within seconds, and triggering an immediate response like a school lockdown.
Within 30 seconds, it basically performs 4 different functions.
Detect, verify, activate, and respond to all threats.
And then it formulates a response. So all of those 4 activities take place within a very, very short period of time with the attempt to use this information to prevent tragedy.
The district says it's not facial recognition and no personal data is stored. It's focused solely on preventing gun violence.
I believe that any amount of time that you can put between your people and a threat is a game changer. Every minute that you can give people during an emergency situation saves lives.
This technology has not yet been implemented in the school districts here in Uvalde. They're working to get that done. They're working with OmniAlert to get that streamlined across their districts so that it can prevent any kind of tragedy here. Now, what they've done in the meantime, they put up 8-foot-high non-scalable fences, and they have 2 officers that are actually monitoring cameras 24/7. These are cameras they did not have 3 years ago during the shooting. These are newer cameras. So those are things that they do think offer a little peace of mind and safety and security as well.
So I have to ask you this: when I heard about artificial intelligence detecting firearms, I thought, are they profiling? Is it something like that? And it seems quite clear that that's not the case. It's not facial recognition or anything like that. They're looking for something like somebody carrying a firearm. And I thought, well, who would carry a firearm openly? But we saw this exact scenario at the NFL headquarters in New York, I think about 2 weeks ago. The man walked in, he was carrying a firearm. Now, nobody was alerted because it's not necessarily illegal, but of course in New York it probably is. But had this been in place at that time, people in that building would have been told, hey, there's a guy outside with a gun, right or wrong, good or bad. At least they would have had that notice and that notification. So the more I listened to that story by News Nation, I thought, maybe AI could play a role in school safety by detecting some of these things early on before the gun is actually used.
Yeah, so one of the things that I learned is it actually is trying to detect a human form brandishing a weapon.
Right.
And so I was thinking more along the lines of, as you walk through, airport security, is it going to, detect a, whatever, magnetic resonance or something as you walk through? But to me, this makes it, yes, in the case of the Uvalde shooting, it would have made a difference. But how many now would just say, well, I'm just going to keep it holstered or whatever until I walk into the school?
But I think you could program AI to, you mentioned the word brandishing, and of course we always think of that as openly carrying a gun in a dangerous manner, which is, I think, probably the technical definition of brandishing. But I think there are other things that AI could recognize that would be consistent with a person who is armed and is intending to do something illegal by their mannerisms or whatnot. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. You just go say, hey, there's somebody in the lobby here. Somebody should just go check it out, especially if we're going to have armed guardians at the schools like we have here in Utah. Hey, AI's triggered something. Let's go up and check it out. I think it's potential for genius. And another thing is you're going to have so many school shootings that have occurred that you can program and put into this AI system what those looked like in the seconds before the shooting. Mm-hmm. You can say, here's what the mannerisms were, here's what was going on, and here's what happened as it led up to the shooting. That then you could start developing a program that decides and sort of articulates what's happening here.
You know, one of the things that's interesting that I learned recently is while parents worry, and I worry too, and kids worry too about school shootings, the chance of it actually occurring, we just have to, first of all, set out that all of them are tragic. There's no question. But the chance of your child being involved in a school shooting where they end up dead is 1 in 7. Like you would have to have it expand over 750,000 years, right? The chances are just tiny, but they're not zero, right? And so this is something where I think if you look at this, if the technology can work, that would save money, I think, in the long run for schools. So you pay initially, right? But you don't have to pay to have a live person on site, bell to bell, every single day.
So let me ask you this. In light of the Ben Horsley a minute ago talking about the guardians, the armed guardians, I wish they weren't using that word. Maybe they should call them school helpers or
school resource officers with a gun.
Does that give you, as a parent with a school child, some comfort?
No, it actually makes it worse.
I mean, I can see some people saying that. You
Yeah.
know, to me, I think it would give me some comfort, especially if they are going through the training that's going to be required.
Look, and I'll tell you why it doesn't give me comfort. Let's go back to the No Kings shooting.
Yeah.
Right? So you had a peacekeeper who thought he saw a threat and killed an innocent bystander.
Right.
That's my worry, is that somebody look, I went through a police academy training. It was actually kind of frightening to feel, even in a pretend scenario, the rush of adrenaline. And then, you're going to have that if you think there's a threat, right? So when I had to do my shooting range, the pretend thing, you've got this threat and they're holding hostages. I accidentally killed a kid because, and it's all pretend, it's all simulation, but it was I got to take out the threat, right? I know that there's training. I know that they're going to be better than I was for sure. No question. But that's what I worry about is a miscalculation about what the threat actually is.
No, and I understand. I used to teach at the police academy. I still do once in a while, but I attended the FBI Citizens Academy. We did the same thing. We went through that shooting simulator, and I remember I was just shooting at a wall after a while, sort of thinking where the bad guy was running, because he'd run into this area, and I just continued firing in where I thought he might be standing. Like there could have been innocent people back there. I failed.
That's my concern, right? And I actually, there's room for error with AI, of course, also, but it's an interesting discussion, and Uvalde especially. That story, it's still 3 years later, it's so sad, right? They had noticed within minutes that they had an active shooter, but it was more than an hour before police officers actually went into the building.
Yeah, and I think the AI would have detected that and gotten them in there sooner.
Yeah, way sooner. Yeah.
I actually disagree a little bit. I with you. I do think the guardians are a good thing for the schools. We'll see. And I would only say this, and I know we're deviating from AI detection, but I think between AI, between it being able to detect and then having someone on scene that can react to that detection gives you some comfort instead of, hey, we're alerting the police department 3 miles away that there's somebody coming up on the campus carrying a firearm. So, to me, it seems like, hey, it might make some sense, the combination of the two.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of people, we're hardwired for human connection. I think we all know that, but let's be honest, having and keeping friends can be expensive, and there's a new study that backs that up. We're going to talk about how expensive it is to have friends after the break.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Becky Bruce. KSL's top local story this hour. Kids in the Alpine School District are back in the classroom this morning. Interim Superintendent Robert Smith tells KSL he's telling everyone in the district to stay focused on the kids and their needs this year, not the coming school district split.
You can get distracted. We all can be distracted by this. I've invited people to stay focused, stay on their game, and help us achieve even higher levels of learning this year and next year. And it's going to be tough, because those distractions will be there.
Smith says he believes his staff has what it takes to keep kids in the spotlight as they head back to class. Granite, Provo, and Nebo districts also begin school today. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The U.S. Supreme Court is considering a case that could change same-sex marriage protections. A former Kentucky county clerk is appealing a case where she was jailed for 6 days in 2015 after refusing to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple on religious grounds. Here's ABC legal contributor James Sample.
This is the first time the court will have the opportunity, though I think it's unlikely they will take up her invitation, to address the question of whether or not to overturn the decade-now-old decision that granted millions of Americans the right to engage in same-sex marriage if they so choose.
It has been 10 years since the court made the initial decision to legalize same-sex marriage. Your money at this moment: the Dow up 330 points, the S&P 500 up 4, the Nasdaq down just a tiny bit. Coming up, extra hot today. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
So we are in studio again with Russell Fawcett. He's the owner of the Sturm Team at Omada Real Estate. And we were talking the last time, just a few minutes ago, it feels like, about property tax notices and appealing if we feel like the tax valuation has come in too high. So Russell, can you tell us a little bit more about that? If we look at comps in the neighborhood, and what if there isn't a lot of comps that we can go on?
Yeah, so first, what you're going to do when you get that tax notice is you first want to actually check it for errors, because sometimes maybe your square footage might be off. You want to look for comparable sales, and then also any evidence of needed repairs or condition issues, because, they're not coming in and actually appraising the homes. If you find that you have enough, you think that you want to go ahead and appeal, there's really 4 things listed on Salt Lake County's website that you can present as evidence to appeal. And so the first one would be comparable sales in your neighborhood. The one thing you have to remember with your comparable sales is they need to be from last year. So you can't use the comparable sale that sold last week. It's actually got to be from the year of the taxed year.
That's super good to know.
The other thing, if you bought a home, so let's say you bought a home last year, you can actually just use your settlement statement to say, hey, I paid less than what you guys have assessed the value. So you can use your settlement statement. You can pay for an independent appraisal. And then the last one that I don't think a lot of people know, but if you have a rental property, you can actually use your rent roll in your operating statement to determine what your value is based other than just comparable sales.
How much can buyers or sellers rely on these property tax notifications in setting prices or in getting a handle on what the value of a home is?
Yeah, really, I like to say you can see whether values are typically going up or down, but it is very rare that our comparable sales are exactly what those property tax notices are, and that's why we have been successful appealing so many times, is because they're not spot on every time.
Where can people find out more about the Stern Team?
Yeah, so again, easiest way is to go to sternteam.com, or you can always simply Google the Stern Team.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Here's Lynn Thomas.
Becky, good spacing and pacing on the freeways along the Wasatch Front. No delays on I-15, Ogden to Salt Lake City and on to Provo. I-80 moving well now from Great Salt Lake and Twilla to the airport. Just a spot of slowing on SR-36 getting onto the freeway there. As you take I-80, though, heading up the hill up to Kimball Junction, you're in good shape. But further east of here, road damage on I-80 eastbound between Hoytsville and Wanship. A left lane and shoulder are blocked there. Mortgage rates are going down. Take advantage. Visit loansbyrick.com at Vintage Lending. Loansbyrick.com, NMLS 241179, Equal Opportunity Lender. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's going to heat up today. The KSL Weather Center says Salt Lake City should hit about 101 degrees, the record for the date, 102. But we are going to cool off a bit the next few days. We'll have some monsoon moisture moving in, possibly bringing some scattered showers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Right now, sunny and 86 degrees. I'm Becky Bruce from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So, look, as I mentioned before the break, we're hardwired to want human connection, to need each other. That means having friends and relationships. But you know what? It can be expensive.
Yeah, you know what? I look at this, and we're talking about a study that came out from Ally Bank regarding the hidden costs of friendship. Okay, I'm older. I don't have as much debt as a lot of the young people. I want to spend money on my friends. I want to take them out. I want to be the one that buys the first round. I mean, that buys lunch or something like that. I mean, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like a lot, but apparently, according to this study, Gen Z and millennials spend an average of $250 a month on activities with friends. That's according to this survey by Ally Bank. I don't know. Does that seem like a lot to you?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
It really, if you look at the percentage too, 42% say they overspend on activities with friends, right? So we have Caitlin Johnston with us. She's our producer for the show, and she wants to talk to us about being the person in the crowd that's like, hey, I'll pick that up.
Well, or just going out and we all pay for our own things. It's just expensive to exist out there. I think we've all been there where we agreed kind of impulsively to go hang out with our friends, and all of a sudden you're spending $100 here and there, and you're buying food, you're buying drinks, and you just do it all impulsively, but you're wanting to have a good time, and you kind of lose control. But FOMO is real. I heard this story on Utah's Morning News when I was driving, and I was like, we have to talk about that because I'm experiencing it right now, and I'm trying to reel myself in because summer's kind of winding down, and so I need to stop spending and stop going out. But
okay, but I saw something, Caitlin, that you wrote, and you said, this is why I'm a hermit.
Yes.
Which you are absolutely not, because every Monday, every Monday we get
season.
here and you tell us what you did over the weekend, or sometimes it's on a Wednesday you get here and you tell us what you did Tuesday night. You're far from being a hermit.
I would say I am allowing myself to have fun this summer, and I've been trying to make up for lost time and go to concerts, but I will say, you can do that without spending, but you can also do it with spending. And so there's a balance that you can find. And I think just as long as you're responsible with it and don't overspend, but it's like once you get going, I'll just share a couple things that I've done to kind of reel myself in. Number one, don't buy alcohol at shows. If you go to certain places, it's, $20 per drink. It's a little ridiculous. I'm very passionate about that. So eat and drink before, bring water with you. This is just for concerts, but anything you could take snacks with, whatever. Don't buy merch impulsively if we're talking about shows, unless it's, Taylor Swift or something you're really passionate about.
You should talk.
If you're really passionate, plan for that and budget for it. But there's ways that I think that you can do both, but it's very easy to get lost in that. And I do think that we're not the only ones who are a little worried about money when you go hang out with your friends. You're like, oh, I want to go hang out, but I don't have money. I don't really want to say that. But I think all of your friends probably feel the same way. So it's important to bring that up and just talk about ways to, help each other not spend and not enable each other to spend, because that's very easy to do.
Well, look, I have an example. I have a lot of kids that are in their 20s, but I have one who has she's very generous. She's very kind. But she seems to be the one that picks up the tab more often than not. She's like, well, I don't have a lot of money, but I have more than they do.
No. Hurts my heart a little bit. I've been there, though. I I mean, I don't know if she's listening right now, but that's easy to do.
No,
and I mean,
she's
if
at
you
her
if
teacher
you want
job.
to treat your friends like Greg, obviously, and you have the means to do so, Greg, you can take me and my friends out. That's great if you want. But I do think that it's very easy to fall into that. You know, I've been in that situation where, you know, I have the credit card, so
Yeah.
I'm going to book the hotel room for this trip that we're planning, and then you're stuck with this bill for a little bit until everybody pays you back, which is totally fine as long as you have friends that pay you back if that's
Yeah.
what you're working for. But I think that if your daughter is totally fine with it and that's great and she loves giving, that's great. But I worry that could become a boundary might need to be set.
Yeah. Maybe do you have any hints for how you do that? Because I know she wants to be a good friend and she doesn't really know how to have the conversation about, like, she doesn't want to hurt feelings.
Well, why is she paying in the first place is the first question. Why isn't everybody just offering to pay? Number one. I don't think it would be hurt feelings, but you just say, hey, I don't have a ton of money, but I think that, you know, if we all just pitch in and split this, let's do it. I think it will be more affordable that way. Just, you know, be upfront and then also just say no. Don't be the first one to offer out the card when you do that, unless you have the means. But, you know, I get that. I don't have the means. I'll do it once in a while to support. But yeah, I think I worry that in that situation, she may be not realizing the full amount of effort that she's putting in and not getting it on the other end.
Yeah.
Maybe she should stop asking people to hang out and see what happens. That's how I feel.
Painful though. That's
It is
painful.
painful. It's a hard truth though. But no, I think it's just open communication. I think most people, like I said, will be on the same page with this kind of stuff because we all want to have fun and see each other. We just can't spend everything.
When you consider your budget for the week or the month, how much do you take into account, hey, I'm going to be hanging with some friends this weekend. I'm going to do this activity. I need to actually budget for it.
Yeah, I would say during the summer it's been a lot more because I know I have these concerts, I have these planned events, but a lot of the
These
time
things you just have to go to.
They're planned in advance, so that helps. But when you do it a little more impulsively, you know, someone will call you on a Friday and be like, hey, do you want to go do this and that? I have something called Fun Money that's kind of just like taken out of my check. And I'm not endorsing like Ally Bank. This is where this survey is from, but they have this bucket tool, which many other banks do, where you can automatically deposit into different buckets. And I actually use that. And I just have something called It's Fun Money, Friend Money. And that's kind of for longer term if something impulsive comes up and I need a little bit of money. But I mean, I would say I budget maybe $100 per check for fun money. And that's not just fun money, but that's maybe me eating out,
though.
like
That's
not getting my groceries or something. It's just something that I can kind of bend a little, or I can go eat out once with my friends during that check. But I think if you stay on top of it, there's ways to do it and just communicate with your friends as well. And, you know, stay at home and hang out. You can be a hermit like me.
Yeah.
You just, you know, there's different ways to do it.
I think there's free options too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
certainly right now you can head up the canyon and it's basically free.
Yeah,
I
you just
mean,
need to pitch in on gas money, and that's
Yeah.
all you really need for that. Yeah, free money. You can go walk around downtown. You don't have
Yeah.
to go in and buy everything. You can, if you want to allow yourself maybe one, you know, soda or a coffee or something like that. That can be your one spending, but you don't have to splurge every time you leave the house. But it's very easy to get out of control.
We all have friends, Caitlin, that we know are not going to be the first ones to pick up the tab and are not going to be the ones that hey, I'll buy dessert today. When you go out with friends, do you ever think about that? Like,
I pay
hey,
for myself.
Okay.
But I mean, if I do have this rule in my head, because I do like to hold my own when it comes to that stuff. But if somebody offers to pay, I give them 3 chances for me to offer, not for them not to do that as just my thing. But then other than that, I'll be like, thank you, I will accept. But it may just be a difference in how people go out. There's some people who, when you invite someone to go out, maybe they will take the tab. But as my younger generation, that is not the norm, that someone else is going to buy the full table.
Yeah, so you split.
Yeah.
It's like one person pays and then
standard.
you Venmo, something like
Yeah,
that.
unless someone's feeling generous, that's
Yeah.
great. But they get 3
Yeah.
chances for me, and I'll accept.
Okay.
So
All right.
Restaurants don't like it when you divide the check 5 ways.
Well,
but,
you
but what
Venmo
you're talking
after.
about is like somebody pays it and then everybody
And then
else.
you Venmo
yeah,
the
typically
person who
that's
paid it. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm used to
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah, I do that too with my girlfriends when we go out.
Yeah.
One person will pay and then we all Venmo her. And usually it's generous and they
Yeah.
make money at the end.
And don't let your daughter get stuck with the tab.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great advice. Okay, Greg, look, the days of houses selling in hours for more than the asking price, they're over. In fact, sellers should go in with the mindset that they're going to have to give up some things. And we're going to talk to Russell Fawcett of Omada Real Estate when we come back after the break about that. But we're streaming live on KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. Stay with us through the break.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
We're back with Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Amada Real Estate. We talked about a minute ago appealing your tax valuation. What's the process to go through that, Russell?
Yeah, so again, we've talked about the evidence that we need, right? So you'd want to gather all of that. And the big thing to note on your tax notice, you're going to have a deadline on there. For most counties in Utah, it's going to be September 15th that you have to appeal it. So after you've gathered your evidence, then you're going to submit it to the County Board of Equalization, and you can do that by mail. You can drop it off, or you can do it online. And depending on the county, some of them might make you mail it in. Salt Lake County does have it available to be able to submit that online. And then it's kind of you wait. Every now and again, they will actually call you in for a hearing. That's not like a court scary hearing. Yes, you are going in, but it's mainly just to talk about the evidence that you presented. And then finally, you wait for your decision in writing. So it doesn't have to be that scary. It's actually a pretty simple process.
So how can the Stern team help with that process? It does actually sound a little scary, to be honest.
Yeah, so the first thing we do is we want to check the value for you, right? We don't want to have you waste a bunch of time if you don't have a case to be able to appeal. So we'll run a market analysis for you and be able to say, yeah, this looks like you actually have a case. And then if you do end up having to go to a hearing, we're more than happy to come with you to actually be there and be able to talk through that process with you while you're there.
Do you ever have homeowners that say, hey, this valuation is too low? My house is worth more than that.
Maybe on the phone, but definitely those are times we're probably not going to write in and appeal the value.
Yeah, there you go. That's very smart. Where can people find out more about the Stern team?
Yeah, so again, visit the Stern team at www.sternteam.com or simply Google the Stern team.
Great. Will you stay with us and have a longer conversation with us in just a minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, Russell.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern team, powered by Amada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern team, powered by Amada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com or Google The Stern Team.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up Do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
And expanded Inside Sources.
We're with Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern Team of Omada Real Estate, and we're talking about the value of your home. Remember, you can learn the true value of your home in just 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
And we've been talking about tax valuation, and we had a texter, Russell, ask if it's ever happened where somebody appealed their property tax and then they had to pay more.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. So kind of in that process is they're typically not going out and researching new data. So they're going to look at what you presented versus the data they have and essentially determine which one they feel is more accurate to determine that value.
Yeah, that is great information.
Okay, Russell, I want to pivot here and ask you about something we call seller concessions. So I'm a seller and a buyer has asked me to make concessions. What do those typically include? What do those look like?
Yeah, so in that situation, there's a couple reasons. So the first one is the buyer's just asking for a little bit of assistance. So as a buyer, you have your closing costs and you have your down payment that you have to make. And so when they're asking for concessions, really they're just asking for assistance from the seller. And in this market, we are seeing concessions, be used just in typical closing costs, but a lot of people are using the concessions to buy down their interest rate. And so we're actually seeing more concessions now than we did maybe in the past. And that's because the buyers are looking to buy down their interest rate, and that's, costing $10,000, $15,000 that they're using to buy those down. But a lot of your loans do have a limit on the amount of concessions that you can get as well.
So explain a little bit more, if you would, about the buy down. So I understand you pay a certain amount of money, you get a lower interest rate. Is it short term? Is it for the life of the loan? Does it make it a variable interest rate? I don't know any of those answers.
Yeah, so it depends. So you can buy them down permanently, where you're actually buying that down for the life of the loan, typically your 30-year loan. Those are going to be more expensive. And so what we're seeing right now is a lot of people doing what they call 3-2-1 buy downs or 2-1 buy downs, where essentially your rate is adjusting each year. So in a 3-2-1, you're going to buy it down, for the first year, it's 3 points lower than 2-1, so it's adjusting over the year into your final payment. And so one of the things that I am recommending, though, with people is that they are very careful on any type of adjustable or even a buy down like that. You do have to qualify for, that eventual permanent payment, but people adjust their lifestyles to the lower payment, and then all of a sudden it adjusts, and that really brings us back into, the last time we had kind of the foreclosures was because people had those adjustable rate mortgages and they were adjusting. So if you are going to do a buy down, take advantage of those lower interest rates. If you're not doing a permanent buy down, just make sure your budget doesn't change. And I would say, tuck away that money, save it, and be ready because, interest rates changed about 3 years ago and people were like, oh yeah, just give it a year and you can refinance, right? We don't know when interest rates are going to change. We're right in that average area for interest rates. And so I wouldn't bank on them changing anytime soon.
So Russell, if a building inspector, home inspector, or an appraiser comes in and says, you know what, this furnace is bad news, it's going to need to be replaced. Can a seller concession be, and you will replace the furnace? Is that something that's done? Just like you've got to put a new roof on, you got to put a new furnace on.
So that is another place that we'll see concessions is after an inspection. So in lieu of, depending on what it is. Now, sometimes it needs to be replaced now, right? So if the furnace is completely bad, there's no heat to the home, you're going to negotiate to have that furnace repaired now. But if you get in and maybe the furnace only has 5 years left, or you mentioned the roof only has 5 years left, or maybe there's just some deferred maintenance, the carpet's gross or something, and as a buyer you're going to come in and replace that, but you want to pick it, you want to be able to choose it. So that would be a time where you could negotiate a concession to just get that money back at closing. And so again, they're not going to just write you a check though. So what you're going to do is you're going to offset your closing costs with the concession. And because you didn't have to bring the money in for your closing costs, now you have that to replace the carpet. You're not going to be able to get a check back at closing to just say, hey, thanks seller for giving me that extra money. those that have tried to do that, you're bordering, or depending on how you structure it, that is actually loan fraud.
Oh.
Because you're essentially inflating the value of the home and the loan to get money back.
Then it could be a kickback.
Yeah.
Well, that's good information.
And so that's where it's just going to be to cover the closing costs. You're not getting a check back at closing.
You know, you've told us several times, and I really appreciate this, and I think you said we're in a stable market. Are those the words you used?
Yeah, so balanced.
A balanced market
is what I would say.
So homes are on the market longer. It's about 4 months, is that right?
No, so about 60 days.
Okay, 2 months. On the market for about 2 months, and interest rates are kind of pretty stable. They've gone down
so
April.
So we're right in the 6s. You know, depending on credit, you may end up in the 7s. You know, you can buy them down. And there are builders out there that are offering incentives where you can get interest rates in the 5s. And so it is, if you look back historically, we are kind of in a average normal interest rate period.
Yeah. As we head into the fall, is that a normal slowdown time for home sales? Are we is summer the peak and now we're going to see more slowdown?
Yeah, so typically where we see the slowdown is into fourth quarter and first quarter.
Okay.
And so, into the fall, into third quarter, we start seeing, people go back to school. Prices typically peak around this time, and then they do soften going into fourth quarter and first quarter, and then we usually see a run up, and then they hold stable. A run up in spring, and then they'll kind of hold stable the rest of the year. But right now is still a great time to buy, great time to sell, but it is starting to slow down.
When you talk about a house being on the market for, say, 60 days, Russell, does that mean that if you're a seller and you're not getting any love after 30 days, don't panic, don't immediately reduce the price? Or do you say you're not getting enough activity? I know you shouldn't maybe not have it sold by now, but maybe we should at least get a little more activity. At what point do you advise sellers to reduce the price?
So it does come down to, and that's where we sit down with you and look at, are there other active homes on the market that are priced below you that are going to sell before your property, or is it just a matter of there's not enough buyers? So we do look at the activity. Do we have enough showings that it's like, hey, just that right buyer? Or we have the showings, people aren't making an offer, so maybe we're just slightly overpriced. So we do look at that data, and ultimately every situation is unique because there are price points and neighborhoods or pockets that you don't want to rush to leave money on the table by dropping the price. But there's also points where you can be overpriced, and if you don't make that price adjustment, you're going to be sitting a lot longer than the 60 days as well.
Yeah, so we've been speaking with Russell Fawcett, the owner of Sturmtine of Omada Real Estate. And if you want to find your home's true value in 30 seconds, visit sturmtine.com to find out more. It's really important to know your actual value.
Russell, you talked earlier about interest rates being a little more favorable right now. Is that, that doesn't seem consistent with what we're hearing from the Fed.
Right. So, again, you have your mortgage interest rate, and then you have the Fed rate. And the Fed rate has not changed. But things like, some of the favorable things that we've had that have maybe helped it is, when I say favorable for mortgage rates. So our job, the jobs report wasn't very strong. So that was something that actually lowered mortgage rates. Inflation being in check can actually help us, and so really the way that I say it, anytime there's bad news, typically your mortgage rates are starting to soften to combat it. And so even though, yes, it's a little bit follows the Fed rate, it's not directly tied to the Fed rate because, that hasn't changed for about 2 years, and we've seen mortgage rates up in the 8s and now in the 6s. So you can still have a swing even though the Fed doesn't change the rate.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that conversation. We're going to stay a little bit on housing. Not really. It's homelessness. But President Trump has mobilized the National Guard in Washington, D.C. to crack down on crime and homelessness. But Utah Senator Mike Lee says he's not going far enough, Greg.
Yeah, he wants almost a full takeover by the federal government of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I don't think there's an almost. But we're going to talk about that. So stay with us on KSL News Radio. And you can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. Breaking news, a power outage in the West Jordan area is impacting more than 1,800 customers. Rocky Mountain Power's outage map shows this is in the Bloomfield Heights neighborhood. Crews are currently investigating the cause, and power is expected to be back on before 1 this afternoon. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The White House says it's looking at what's inside the Smithsonian to figure out what stays.
The White House says it will lead its own review to ensure Smithsonian exhibits align with the president's directives to, quote, celebrate American exceptionalism and remove divisive or partisan narratives. The Smithsonian responded in a statement saying it will collaborate constructively with the White House. But the president's ability to pressure the Smithsonian is limited. It's governed by a board of regents, led by Chief Justice John Roberts. Its members aren't appointed by the president. Instead, they're nominated by the board itself and confirmed by both houses of Congress.
ABC's News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 310 points, the S&P is up 4 points. And coming up, highs in the triple digits today. KSL Weather's next KSL News time, 11:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
At Intermountain Health, we believe life is a circle. May yours surround you with insight, a healthy perspective, trust, and reassurance. The belief that our differences aren't that different, and compassion just when you need it most. Life is a circle. May yours help you live the healthiest life possible. Intermountain Health.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-475-1818. That's 800-475-1818.
When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing selection, convenience, and exceptional service. With 3 locations, Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, Performance Automotive is here to serve your needs. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, where excellence comes standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com.
You've lived with the pain long enough. The missed meals, covered smiles, the moments you've avoided because of your teeth. If you're living with missing or broken teeth or struggling with dentures, take your life back. Stubbs Dental Implant Center has helped thousands reclaim their health, confidence, and joy with permanent dental implants. What do Stubbs Dental patients say?
I'm no longer in pain, and I can finally be myself again after getting dental implants. I just wish I would have gone to Stubbs Dental sooner.
I was at a denture for 10 years before I got dental implants. My life has completely changed thanks to Stubbs Dental.
You know, I hated looking at myself in the mirror. Getting dental implants from Stubbs Dental has been life-changing.
As a 3-time Best of State winner with over 2,500 5-star Google reviews, Stubbs Dental doesn't just fix teeth, they change lives. Visit StubbsDental.com today to reserve your free consultation. A $350 value, completely free. StubbsDental.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Here's Len Thomas.
Well, traffic is moving well as we move into the late morning. I-15 gliding along nicely along the Wasatch Front freeways through the Salt Lake Valley, Weber, Davis, and Utah counties. I-80 as well from Grantsville to the airport and heading up the hill toward Park City. But further up the road, keep an eye out for a left lane and shoulder closed. That's eastbound I-80 between Hoytsville and Wanship as crews work on road damage there. Advanced Window Products, factory direct, affordable windows. Call today. They're on their way. Financing available. Save now, pay later. AdvancedWindows.com. I'm Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
We could reach a high of 101 degrees today with just a little bit of cloud coverage. Temperatures are back down tomorrow with chances of thunderstorms through Saturday. Right now it is 88 and sunny. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So,
after President Trump's executive order a couple days ago asking that the federal government actually get involved with the deployment of troops to Washington, D.C., some 800 Holly National Guard troops are being deployed to Washington, D.C. to fight the city's supposed high crime rate.
Right. And we also know that President Trump has said that there are not going to be homeless people in the city anymore. There's been a little bit of ongoing conversation since then. Reporters have asked him, does that mean, what does that mean? And some of it might mean jail time. Some of it might mean literally busing them to other places. But one of Utah's senators doesn't think that President Trump is going far enough to take over D.C.
But to help us understand that, we've got Cami Mondo, Deseret News congressional correspondent. Cami, thanks for joining us again this morning.
Absolutely, thank you.
So tell our listeners what Senator Lee and others of his mindset are thinking.
Absolutely. So what we've seen with this executive order so far is given federal control over just law enforcement and D.C. police. But what Mike Lee has been pushing for, several years now, and a couple of other Republicans, is to take control of D.C. altogether. Right now, the District of Columbia, it's not a state necessarily, but it does have a city council that allows it to make its own local laws. But what Mike Lee and other Republicans are suggesting is to take that away completely and just allow it to operate under congressional jurisdiction instead.
So, Cami, why?
Right, and that's something that, a lot of people who live in D.C. are frustrated with that, but what a lot of Republicans get upset with is that D.C. is largely a Democratic city. It's run by all Democratic lawmakers. You're not going to see a lot of Republican representation here, and so that usually gets under the skin of some congressional Republicans who disagree with the city laws that they have to follow or have to live under when they are in town in Congress.
So there's what we call the Home Rule Act of 1973. Congress passed this. It was, 22 years ago, Cami, and it allows that, since, like you said, a District of Columbia is not a state, and it's not even in a state. It's sort of its own municipality. But that act gave District of Columbia residents the ability to elect a mayor and city council. Congress, as I understand it, still oversees their budget and legislation, and the president himself would appoint judges, so he almost acts like the de facto governor. But if they did away with this, Cami, it would seem that there would be just a complete federal control over that city.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you do read the Home Rule Act, Congress still does have some control over D.C. Every law that the city council passes is subject to congressional approval. I mean, Congress could reject any law that they pass at any time. We did see that about 2 or 3 years ago when they wanted to revamp their criminal code. Congress did not like what the changes were, and they actually stopped that from taking effect. So really, Congress does have last say, really, in a lot of what D.C. does. But yeah, repealing this Home Rule Act would just take away any sense of autonomy that D.C. government has, and it would put it completely under congressional control, which, is kind of something we haven't seen in the last 2 decades.
Yeah, my question then, of course, always has to be, so when the political winds shift and it is then a Democratic-controlled Congress, would Republicans in Congress, be unhappy?
Right, and that's the thing too, is a lot of Democrats in Congress are upset. A lot of Democrats, especially those from D.C., want statehood for D.C., and so that's another conversation that Trump has completely shut down altogether, and that's where you're seeing Mike Lee and other Republicans come in. Is I guess they view this statehood question as a real threat, whether or not, I don't know how it really would become a threat. It is such a small city, but that is something where they are very upset, and they just want to make sure they have control over it no matter what that looks like, depending on what Mike Lee wants to do or what Trump wants to do.
Cami, as I understand federal law, it allows the president to federalize the District of Columbia Police for up to 48 hours before notifying Congress, who can approve it for up to 30 days. And I don't know if I'm reading it right, but so I think we're getting to that 48-hour period. Is there some movement now that we would expect Congress to chime in on this?
And it seems like after that 48-hour period, which you're right, we are coming up on, it's at that point Trump just needs to notify the appropriate committees in Congress that he's going to be taking over for the 30 days. After that 30-day period is up, to extend it further, Congress would need to approve it. There is a little bit of questioning on how that actually looks, just because it hasn't been done before. They aren't sure if, after that 30 days, it's a simple majority in the Senate, meaning Republicans can do it without Democrats. Trump suggested today that, he might even go toward declaring a national emergency. That would mean he wouldn't need congressional approval at all. It is all very up in the air and kind of unprecedented at this point that we're not sure, how those policies play out.
Is there any sentiment among enough Republicans that this legislation actually might pass?
There is some sense that it could pass. Right now, I think that because we are in the middle of August recess and no lawmakers are here, you might see enough movement, enough change with the crime rates. You're seeing that the White House is already touting that they've arrested, I think they said 100 people as of this morning. You might see enough change that by the time this 30 days is up, they might say, we've done all that we can do and we've made it better and that's all we need. It's not clear. A lot of them haven't spoken out and been vocal about it, especially since they aren't here in the city to be asked about it by reporters.
We're speaking this morning with Cami Mondo, Deseret News congressional correspondent. And Cami, as we're looking at crime statistics, we are seeing that violent crime rates in D.C. are actually 26% down from a year ago right now. So I'm wondering, up on the Hill, how much of this is related to crime and how much of it is related to the DOJ employee that was badly hurt, and the fact that people, or maybe in the administration, feel like that the administration of D.C. isn't taking that seriously enough?
Right, and that seems to really be what the catalyst was when that DOJ employee was assaulted, because as you said, crime rates have been down. There was a big spike in 2023 where there was just unusually large numbers of crime going on. So those numbers, although they are down, they still are an issue that, residents are concerned about. But it does seem that, with the Trump administration, and you're seeing a lot more Republican staffers in D.C. now that they control Congress, that might be what the catalyst is, that now that they're worried about it. The neighborhood Trump specifically mentioned, which is Navy Yard, that is a neighborhood that is just a 10-minute walk from D.C. It's actually where I live. That's where a lot of Congress staffers and lawmakers live, and so they're concerned about, maybe having to be worried about crime when they're walking home or just in their everyday lives.
So, Cami, a couple of other things from your article in the Deseret News. You mentioned that President Trump is thinking of expanding this. Now, I understand that D.C. is its own special thing. It's been that way for a long time. But does the president have authority to take over other cities?
Right, and that's also, again, another big legal question that, is kind of being raised as Trump says, we're starting here, and kind of suggests that other Democratic-led cities will be targeted. I think you're going to see a lot about whether that's even possible after, what happened in L.A. when he called the National Guard there, and that's now under court review and a legal battle. And I think however that plays out, you might see whether, this is even legal for him to take over if he can deploy the National Guard. So I think, L.A. is going to be the first case where it's actually going to determine what Trump can do. D.C., like you said, is a special case, so I don't think L.A. will really depend on or can determine what will happen here. But I think for other states, that might be, the precedent that's set.
Thanks, Cami. That was Cami Mondo, Deseret News congressional correspondent. And I hope, Holly, that this isn't the beginning of something where we're going to have cities taken over by the federal government, because D.C. is one thing because it is under federal control. but Chicago, not so much.
They're not.
And I don't know how they're going to get to the point, unless it's a national emergency or something that's just off the charts, that would seem to give the president that authority. But we'll see. All these are going to be hammered out in the courts in the months and years to come. A sad anniversary today. 21 years ago today, 166 people were massacred in a refugee camp in Burundi. We will talk with one of the survivors when we come back. And remember, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
Can you believe it?
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary.
17 days until opening kickoff. This is your home for BYU football. Plus, breaking news and weather every morning. Listen for Andy and Amanda each morning when you get in the car. And Jeff Kaplan on the drive home on KSL News Radio.
Regardless of how old your air conditioner is, there are a few things you can do to help it last as many summers as possible. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and like so many things in our life, it's easy to take our air conditioner for granted. If you keep a clean filter, rinse the outdoor unit off every once in a while, and have it serviced once a summer, you can reduce your risk of unexpected breakdowns. But eventually it will break down, and if someone tells you that your only option is to replace it, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. You could save thousands of dollars repairing it instead of replacing it. Any Hour rarely comes across an air conditioner that just can't be repaired. That doesn't mean you won't choose to replace it anyway, but being told you don't have options, that's not cool. So if you want honest answers and straightforward options, give Any Hour Services a call. And remember, every week this summer, Any Hour Services is giving away an air conditioner to one lucky customer as part of our Coolest Summer Sweepstakes. No purchase is necessary. You can see official rules or schedule your service at anyhour.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
There's a photo my wife took of me, sitting crisscross on the floor playing Legos with my boys. Might not sound like much, but back in 2020, I couldn't get down there without pain, let alone enjoy it. After 16 weeks on soda and 82 pounds gone, that picture means everything. It's proof that I'm not just present in my kid's life, but I'm active, engaged, and I'm healthy. Soda didn't just give me a plan. It gave me a partner, a personal nutritionist who helped me every step. Through grocery store trips, family vacations, late night cravings, you name it. If you're a parent who wants to be there, not just someday, but right now, go to sodaweightloss.com. Click the Request a Nutritionist callback. That's sodaweightloss.com. SOTA stands for state of the art. sodaweightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Back to school means back to routine. But don't forget about the mess underfoot. Start this school year fresh with Zero-Res carpet and air duct cleaning. Did you know your carpets can trap up to 40 pounds of dust, dirt, and debris each year? Zero-Res uses patented technology to clean with no sticky soaps or harsh chemicals. Just patented ZR water for a deep clean that's safe for kids, pets, and your peace of mind. Your carpets dry fast, stay cleaner longer, and come with a 30-day gotta love it guarantee. Right now, get 3 rooms plus a free hallway for $119 and 15% off air duct cleaning. Schedule today at Zero-Res.com. That's Zero-Res.com. Spelled the same forward or backward. Zero-Res is the right way to clean. Zero-Res.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Are you struggling with pain in your feet, ankles, knees, hips, or lower back? At the Good Feet store, we recommend having high-quality support in all of your shoes. Our personalized arch support system has helped countless people find relief, like Karen. Here is her Good Feet story.
After I decided my pain was too much, and my doctor actually suggested that I do visit the Good Feet store. Pretty amazing when they put the arch supports in your shoe and you walk around and you realize there's not pain, and you think, how can this arch support in my shoe make my back pain go away? But it works. And how can it make my knee pain go away? It was incredible.
Come to the Good Feet store today and see what we can do for you. Good Feet arch supports are in stock and available in over 300 different styles and sizes.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Stop in today at the Good Feet store.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they gonna know?
Talk. They hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel neglected or unloved? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
An expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
21 years ago today, August 13th, 2004, 166 people were killed and another 106 wounded at the United Nations Katumba refugee camp in Burundi. Nearly all the victims were a part of a Congolese Tutsi ethnic group who were deliberately targeted in the attack. It was carried out by some Hutu supremacist rebel groups fighting in what was then Burundi's civil war.
Yeah, and we don't talk very often about genocide or genocidal attempts, and this story was like, it just doesn't get enough attention, as you said. So 21 years ago, we actually have on the line with us SB Nasezerano. Tell me if I butchered your name. I'm so sorry. But she was only 11 at the time of the attack, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what happened there. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for welcoming me.
Espe, you were 11 at the time, and you were with your family. Describe that day. Describe what happened.
It was a Friday evening. We were playing with other kids my age, and normally we would sleep early because we didn't have electricity. So when it gets a little dark, your parents will call you in the tent to sleep. So I remember I actually was ready to sleep at 7 o'clock. I was a very good sleeper, so my mom knew that 7 o'clock hit, SP is asleep. So it was around 10 p.m. We start hearing some gunshot. Remember I was 11 and I could only follow my mom's direction. And I could hear my mom say, "Wake up, I think we are under attack." And from there, when I say this, it's like in the movie, they are shooting all over the place. You don't know where the bullet is coming from. And I think that's when I was shot. And then my mom also was shot, and my younger sister. I guess you can tell that we were two of us in the family. And my dad had already left. Obviously, when he heard the gunshot, I think men are quick to get in the defensive mode. He was like, "What's happening?" Then he left. That I don't know. I think I came to find out that he had left us to go see what's happening, and then he never came back because he just figured that we had already, been killed. So when they were shooting so hard, my mom told us we have to run. But everybody was screaming in the camp, in the refugee camp, "You have to run, you have to run." So as we were trying to run, obviously my mom was shot in her leg, so she couldn't walk. My little sister, who was 10 at that time, and me, we were literally carrying my mom to go outside. And everything happened in a span of maybe even seconds. So when they were shooting, there were another group that was going around burning the camps, the tent. So when you're seeing like a tent burning, you're like, I'd rather be killed by a bullet than being, burnt alive. So I think the best way to die, I would say the easiest to die was being shot. And I think that's what my mom thought as well. But luckily we survived, but we lost friends and family and people were shot and burnt, alive. And I'm so privileged and glad that you guys brought me in today, because really today is the anniversary. Is 21 years as we commemorate the victims and innocent civilians that were killed simply because of who they are.
So, SB, first of all, I cannot imagine trying to choose which way is better to die, whether it's to be burned or to be shot. So that's it's got to be incredibly traumatic. But you mentioned you were targeted specifically because of the group that you belonged to. Can you explain that a little bit more for our listeners?
Yes, I'm from the community of the Banyamulenge tribe. It's a Tutsi tribe from the Democratic Republic of Congo. My whole life, I've never seen or witnessed the Banyamulenge living in peace in the DRC. For us to get to that refugee camp in Burundi, it's because we were being chased and targeted in DRC. So we had to seek refuge in Burundi. And it didn't happen just in 2004. That was not the first time that we had to leave the country because we are being targeted. That was probably the second time. Even before that, my own grandpa was killed in 1966 by militias as well, just because he was a Munyamulenge. So our tribe is an issue in Congo. Not because we stole something, not because we killed anyone, and not because not because we are even a military group. We are just a threat because of existing as Banyamulenge. So moving from Congo to Burundi, it was more like we thought Burundi was going to be safer than Congo because it had become like a norm. Killing a Munyamulenge in Congo was just it's like killing a chicken on the road. And as we speak right now, I know I'm kind of taking you guys through the whole history in a few seconds. And as we speak, even this year, we still have Banyamulenge being killed in Congo. And I want to mention this, the only reason why I'm able to talk to you and feel safe and be free to say all this is because I'm in this country. It's because I'm in America. America became a safe home for us. Obviously, we had nowhere else to go. Consider us as stateless people, I would say. But America became home, a very safe haven for us. And I would say states like yours, there in Utah, New York, or even Dallas, Texas, where my family was resettled in 2007, 3 years after the genocide, became our adoptive home for people like us that were refugees, that didn't have a place to go. So, when someone is adopted into a family, you become part of that family. So I always feel an attachment and so much love for the state of Texas, which gave me refuge. Because I didn't find that in my home country, Congo, which was killing me, even though I belong there. I'm a child of Congo, but that was rejected and accepted by the United States of America.
SB, as we sit here 21 years later, what can you tell our listeners that they can do? Is there anything that we can do here to help others who are still there, or to help people like yourself?
It's to raise awareness. We come here to talk about what happened 21 years ago, and I know we cannot bring our loved ones. I was privileged enough to survive with my mom and my sister and my dad, but there are other kids that lost their dad and the whole family. And we are living among you here in America. So we speak about this not to hope that we can bring those that die back alive, but we are trying to protect those that are still alive. The Banyamulenge still struggling in Congo, being targeted simply because they are Banyamulenge Tutsis. So we are asking everyone who's listening to us, those that have anything they can do, if you know how to write, if you know you have a connection anywhere, what we can ask from you is raising awareness and speaking on behalf of us. Because your voice and mine, you putting your voice on with my voice, it's like you are amplifying my voice to speak louder to a bigger crowd. So, and I think, if you take a stand on our behalf, and we may save more lives of the Banyamulenge people that are still being persecuted as we speak.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We were speaking with Espinesa Zorano, and she was 11 years old 21 years ago when 166 people were massacred in a refugee camp in a genocidal attack. We're going to actually stay on the topic of genocide when we come back after the break, and we're going to talk with somebody that our listeners may know the name as we introduce her in the next segment, but she was able to prosecute ethnic cleansing crimes at The Hague, and we're going to talk about genocide and peace building.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Verl Johansson. KSL's top local story this hour. UDOT is removing 500 gallons of spilled paint from I-80 near Wanship, along with the top 2 inches of pavement. Crews had been restriping the road Monday when a semi-truck crashed into the paint truck. 500 gallons of white and yellow paint exploded across the roadway, and since then, crews have been working to remove the paint. And John Gleason with UDOT says they now have a solution.
We could water blast the paint off the road, but the concern is that if we did that, we may cause some damage to the pavement there.
The truck had also been carrying 4,000 pounds of glass beads, which is used to give the paint its reflective surface. Lanes will be closed intermittently as the pavement is being replaced. The goal is to have the whole road open this evening. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. It seems Americans may be rethinking their relationship with something they've had a long history with: alcohol.
In 2015, 28% of U.S. adults said even moderate alcohol consumption is a health risk. A decade later, that number's jumped to 53%. And the increase is being driven by a growing number of younger adults who say even 1 or 2 drinks a day can have adverse effects on your health. More people are also abstaining completely. 54% of those surveyed by Gallup do say they drink either wine, beer, or spirits, but that's the lowest number than at any point in the past 3 decades.
That's ABC's Sherry Preston. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 309 points, the S&P is up 7 points, and the NASDAQ is up 16. And coming up, we've got a chance for some thunderstorms later this week. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The power of we believes in you. It advocates for you. It completes your circle. It makes sure you have the strongest circle possible. And with Intermountain Health in yours, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
Higher taxes, soaring inflation, record low interest rates, and the skyrocketing cost of healthcare. The list goes on. Retiring successfully today is a lot more complicated than ever before. Learn how you can tackle the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement today. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio. It's this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 102.7.
Back to school shopping. It's basically like a sport. The kids want new shoes, new jeans, new colors, new everything. And honestly, they're not wrong. They've grown. Their style has changed. And apparently, last year's hoodie is embarrassing. So we make a quick trip to the mountains. Junction Commons Park City has cooler temps, fresh air, and way better deals. Sneakers? We hit Nike Factory, Adidas, and Vans Outlet. Clothes? Abercrombie & Fitch, American Eagle, Gap Factory, J. Crew Factory, Buckle, all the brands they want without draining my wallet. And while they're shopping, I get a little mountain escape. A latte in hand, cool breeze, and a few peaceful moments to myself. Honestly, it's the kind of back-to-school tradition I can get behind.
Junction Commons Park City. Cooler temps, hotter deals, and one very relieved parent.
An Australian hiker travels to the American West to walk a wilderness trail.
Wasn't afraid to be out on his own.
But Eric Robinson vanished in the high Uinta Mountains.
I remember thinking, Eric, what were you thinking, mate?
I'm Dave Cawley. Join me on my podcast, Uinta Triangle, where I travel the world to answer the question, what happened to Eric Robinson? Follow Uinta Triangle. That's UINTA Triangle on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times, but take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
All clear on the Valley freeways. You're good to go north and southbound I-15 between Ogden and Provo. No problems on the rest of your Salt Lake County freeways. If you're in the downtown area, construction blocking right lanes of traffic southbound 3rd West as you're approaching 5th South. Advanced Window Products, factory direct affordable windows. Call today. They're on their way. Financing available. Save now, pay later. AdvancedWindows.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, we're expecting to hit triple digits today with a high of 101 degrees. We could see some dry thunderstorms as soon as tomorrow afternoon, with the storms looking to stick around through the end of the week. Right now, it's 89 degrees with sunny skies in Salt Lake City. I'm Burl Johansson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So we're going to continue our conversation on a really serious topic, and that is genocide. And our last guest in the last segment mentioned that she was in a refugee camp and that she was Tutsi. So some of our listeners might be familiar with Tutsis and Hutus because they were the two sides of the Rwandan genocide that happened in 1994, so about a decade before this, the attacks on this refugee camp. But what happened there is in about 100 days, about 1 million people were killed because of the ethnic group that they belonged to, which, by the way, was also an artificial construct put by European colonizers. Like, okay, well, you guys are Tutsis and you guys are Hutus now.
And we're lucky to have with us this morning a former prosecutor who handled ethnic cleansing cases at The Hague. I had no idea this person is here in Utah. It's our own Supreme Court Justice Paige Peterson, appointed by Gary Herbert in 2017. She's been on our Supreme Court for 8 years. But prior to that, and I'm embarrassed, Justice Peterson, that I haven't read your bio before today. You served as Assistant United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, handling organized crime cases, international narcotics trafficking, but then actually prosecuted war crimes in the International Criminal Tribunal in The Hague, Netherlands, including a prosecution for the former Yugoslavia, prosecuted the former Serbian chief of police for ethnic cleansing. I know that's a mouthful, Justice Peterson, but thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And tell us,
Great to be here.
I prosecuted on the local level. What's it like to be at The Hague?
Well, it was a fascinating experience. It was very eye-opening. I was on a team that was responsible for prosecuting war crimes in Kosovo, and I was the only American on my team. I worked with someone from Canada, a lawyer from Jamaica, from Chile, from Italy, and from Malaysia. So I was the only American, and there were different procedural rules that we had to follow. So I had to learn a different way of being a lawyer than I had in my practice here in America. I was told, my Canadian colleague told me, by the way, in trial, don't stand up and say objection. Everyone will laugh at you, and you'll seem like you're trying to be on an American legal drama.
So can you tell our listeners about ethnic cleansing, what that legal term means, and what you were prosecuting?
Let me give you a little bit of a background into the situation there, and I'll describe what the ethnic cleansing was and what we were prosecuting. So Kosovo at the time, and this was the late 90s and late 80s through the 90s, Kosovo was an autonomous province within Serbia. So ethnic Albanians was very different from the rest of Serbia because it was made up primarily of ethnic Albanians. About 80% of Kosovo, this province within Serbia, were ethnic Albanians, and their religion was primarily Muslim. And the other 20% were ethnic Serbs, and their religion is Christian. They're Serbian Orthodox. So these two groups had lived together in peace since World War II for decades. They had both been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and there had been some tension between the two going back hundreds of years. But since World War II, they'd lived as neighbors in Kosovo. But in the late 80s and early 90s, as communism fell and the different republics in Yugoslavia broke apart, nationalism was on the rise. And you may remember the name Slobodan Milosevic. He rose to power as the president of Serbia in the 90s. And he wanted to get the ethnic Albanians out of Kosovo and repopulate it with ethnic Serbs. And he kind of followed a multi-step process to get there, which I can talk about if you'd like. But what ended up happening is by the late 90s, in 98 to 1999, there was a violent campaign of ethnic cleansing, meaning we want ethnic Albanians out. We want to cleanse the area of people whose ethnicity we don't want here. And it involved the Serbian army, the police, and paramilitary groups. In the end, they forced out about 1 million Kosovo Albanians from their homes. Thousands and thousands of men and boys of fighting age were murdered. There was systematic sexual assault. It was really an atrocity perpetrated on these people who had lived in the area for centuries because of their ethnicity as Albanians.
So, Justice Peterson, those aren't crimes that we typically think about here in Utah or in the states in general. So what were you prosecuting them for, and who were the individuals that were being prosecuted?
So before my time at the tribunal, there had been a prosecution of Slobodan Milosevic as the president of Serbia for his role in this, and the heads of the army and some of the paramilitary groups. So it was really the leaders who ordered the ethnic cleansing. But one person had not been arrested, and that was the chief of the police forces. So the trial that I was on was to prosecute. His name was Vlastimir Đorđević, and he was the chief of police, and for his role in this. And what he was charged with was the legal term was forcible deportation, forcing people out of their homes. Also mass murder, because many people, thousands of people were murdered in this process. And we also charged him with being responsible for systemic sexual assault, even though he obviously himself did not commit sexual assault or kill anyone himself. He put in place orders that created the conditions, knowing that these things were exactly what was going to happen. So those were the charges against him.
So we're speaking with Justice Paige Peterson from the Utah Supreme Court, but on a previous role that she had prosecuting ethnic cleansing at The Hague. And unfortunately, our time has gone so quickly. I just want to ask you one final question. What takeaway did you get maybe about peace building or treating others with dignity? What can you tell our listeners about that process?
I think the thing that is so important, I asked myself so many times as I was in this role and I was meeting our witnesses who had been victims during the ethnic cleansing, and I thought, how could this happen? How could people look at one another and do this? How could they do this to each other? And sometimes it was people who had been their neighbors, local Serbs who joined with the Serbian forces and committed horrible crimes against people they had lived by as neighbors. And what creates the conditions where people end up doing this to each other is they stop looking at each other as human beings and as people deserving of respect, and they start to see them as the enemy. And they kind of, I think the word is dehumanizing. They sort of dehumanize people and no longer view them as someone who is deserving of humanity and dignity. And that always precedes something like this happening, and it's extremely dangerous. So that was one of the things that I observed as I wondered, how could this happen?
Thank you, Your Honor. That was Justice Paige Peterson of the Utah Supreme Court, whose former role as a war crimes prosecutor in The Hague, I think, would have warranted about 5 segments.
I know.
I'd
Next
love to have her
time.
back. When we come back in the break, we've got more from Inside Sources.
I'm Maria Chaleos, and I'm here with Angela and Jeff. They are also clients of Salt Lake City Fat Loss. You guys look great.
Thanks.
We're glad to be here.
Tell me how much weight you've lost and how long it took.
36 pounds in the 60-day reduction phase, and I've lost an additional 6 pounds on maintenance. So 42 pounds total so far.
And I've lost 59 so far.
Tell me what changed about your health with Salt Lake City Fat Loss.
I immediately started sleeping better. I also quit craving things late at night that I knew were sabotaging my diet.
I don't have to take a deep breath to tie my shoes anymore, and I can actually stand up after I've been kneeling on the floor without feeling like I was going to pass out.
What would you tell someone who is like you and is thinking about losing weight with Salt Lake City Fat Loss?
Don't wait another day. This plan will change your life.
Learn the secret of losing up to 1 pound of unhealthy fat per day and start your own success story at slcfatloss.com, slcfatloss.com.
Results may vary. Respiratory virus season is quickly approaching, meaning we'll see more flu, COVID, and RSV in our community. The good news is vaccines are available that will help prevent these infections and keep people healthy. For flu and COVID, everyone aged 6 months and older are recommended to be vaccinated to help protect ourselves and our families against serious illness. Fall remains the best time to be vaccinated. Respiratory viruses circulate year-round, but peak late fall through winter. Your doctor can recommend which vaccines are best for you and your family.
Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 Gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-917-4635, and you are guaranteed a $10 Gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These Gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-917-4635. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-917-4635 now to secure your $10 Gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-917-4635.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. The Utah Nonprofits Association truly embodies the spirit of Utah. Through dedicated outreach across the state, they help build a thriving, connected nonprofit community and create lasting impact in every corner of Utah. Chief Executive Officer Jill Bennett joins us with more.
Utah Nonprofits Association is more than just a network. It's the heartbeat of Utah's nonprofit community. We bring people together who believe in something bigger than themselves, helping others, lifting voices, and making change where it's needed the most. Nonprofits are where compassion meets action, caring for the vulnerable, feeding the hungry, sheltering the homeless, protecting the environment, and creating beauty through the arts. Work that touches lives in quiet, powerful ways every single day. Utah Nonprofits Association stands beside these organizations, offering the guidance, training, and the support they need to keep going and keep growing. In a world full of challenges, nonprofits remind us of what's possible when people come together with purpose and heart. And Utah Nonprofits Association helps make sure they're never alone in that mission. Together, we build stronger communities for generations to come. Learn more at UtahNonprofits.org.
The Utah Nonprofits Association continues to strengthen communities across the state by living its core values of collaboration, equity, advocacy, and integrity. The Utah Nonprofits Association helps create a more connected, compassionate, and resilient Utah for everyone. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. Be the someone who gives their time. Be the someone who lends an ear. Be the someone who takes a step. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN, asking you to join the fight against sexual violence and volunteer in your community. Log on to RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org, to learn how you can be the someone.
This message brought to you by the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network and this station.
Inside Sources.
Today, President Trump announced the latest recipients of the Kennedy Center honors. And among the honorees, that is the rock group KISS. And Holly, I have to admit, I saw them in concert, I think at the Old Salt Palace, and they were all dressed up. You know how they are. They have all that makeup and everything on. There's a rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, that they tried to tour once without the makeup.
Oh,
and nobody liked
recognized
them. They weren't
them.
very good. Here's what President Trump had to say about them.
KISS became a global phenomenon, sold more than 100 million records worldwide, and produced 30 gold albums and lots of other things they produced. They made a fortune. And they're great people, and they deserve it.
They are a fun group.
So, I mean, look, I'm not totally into a whole lot of music bands, but even I know KISS, right?
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
another one of the honorees is George Strait.
That's a song I'm not familiar with, but it's pretty.
Yeah. So the president also spoke about country star George Strait as one of this year's honorees.
Over an extraordinary 4-decade career, George has sold more than 120 million records worldwide, amassed 60 #1 hits, wow, and produced 33 platinum certified albums, more than any other living American. That is amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. There's another song by George Strait that everybody knows. I can't think of what it is, but I'll think of it in a minute. But it wasn't Carrying Your Love With Me, although that was pretty. Here's a song everybody knows. She was honored also. Gloria Gaynor, one of my favorites. You got to play this at every wedding.
I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key. If I'd have known for just 1 second, you'd be back to bother me. Lord, now go. Walk out the door.
I Will Survive.
I know.
I mean,
but
everybody.
why the wedding?
Every time you go to a wedding, they just play that song. I don't know why. It's just fun. I think the bride likes to tease the groom with it.
Okay.
I've seen that played several times. I don't know.
So we have the audio about this as well.
Well, the first thing I gotta do is I gotta pay the rent, you know. And then, well, I made this list on the way over. I was just thinking of things to do. I'd like to get a couple of hats and a motorcycle and a couple of quarts of perfume for Adrian. She likes to smell good.
I know who that is,
That's
right?
Rocky Balboa. Sylvester Stallone also honored. That was from Rocky 1. I think that's when he got his first check, and they're asking, "What are you going to do with your
buy
payroll?" Well,
perfume.
first thing I'm going to do is pay the rent, maybe buy a motorcycle. President Trump did speak about Sylvester Stallone also today.
It's very few, almost, if any, people that could have taken a name and made it so incredible, like Rocky, Rambo, Creed, and others. But think of it, Rocky, Rambo, if you did one, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone, I have to say the Rocky series of movies, they're corny, they're goofy, but you watch them.
But they were good.
And they all had these incredible endings where you're like, you'd hear that music coming in at the end, and you're just like, you know, Eye of the Tiger, that kind of stuff.
That's right. And look, I remember this soundbite, Adrian!
Yeah, that's also on Rocky 1 where he's calling out Adrian. Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay, so we're going to shift to fun facts of the day.
Those were fun facts, actually.
They were fun. Yeah, they were fun. So if you remember this is one of the reasons this is interesting, especially right now, is because President Trump basically fired everybody on the Kennedy Center Board of Trustees, and appointed himself as the replacement for the chair.
So yeah.
So ticket sales have dropped. Hamilton pulled out. So we'll see how this all goes. Okay, so today is a filet mignon day.
A great treat, something my wife loves to order when she can.
Unless you're vegan.
I'm not a big fan of filet mignon, but that's something my wife will order when we go to a nice restaurant. And
Yeah.
Who would know you'd even have a day named after filet mignon? But
I know.
do they have flank steak?
Flank
steak day?
I don't know. Now you're asking me questions I
Sorry.
don't know the answer
All
to. So look, on this day in 1521, I'm going to start with this fun fact. The Aztec capital fell to Cortez.
The Aztec capital of
I don't know. The Aztec nation. It was in
Teotihuacan.
South
I forget
America.
What it was called? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if you've ever been in those areas, traveling around and just seeing some of the ruins and what those cultures were like, you have to wonder
incredible.
how amazing it must have been, and what technology they had really for the period of time. They're amazing to see and to walk through and to experience. And luckily, some of the cities and towns and countries in that part of the world have preserved those, so you can enjoy those.
It was Tenochtitlan. And so as that capital fell, then the whole nation ended up falling. And it was, I mean, the cultural loss and the cultural appropriation actually was just such a huge deal, right? And at the time,
What year was that?
1521. A long
Now,
time
who was
ago.
keeping score on August 13th?
Yeah,
1551?
somebody kept a record, and I would say it was the Spanish. They kept a record.
Yeah, they probably had
they
better
kept a
calendars
record.
than we do today.
Yeah. So I have to tell you this story too. So Florence Nightingale, do you remember what she's known for?
She was a nurse.
She was a nurse, right?
Yes.
And it was the Crimean War. And Crimea is actually in the news right now because it was taken over by Russia as part of Ukraine. But Florence Nightingale was an inspiration to me when I was a kid. Like I would say junior high-ish maybe. It helped. It was one of the reading her like story, and this would have been a kid's version, but helped me decide to become a nurse as one of my first professions.
Yes.
But just her idea that we needed to go out there and to do something. And she died on this day in 1910 at age 90.
Wow.
So, yeah. And now we have a couple of World War II insights. So in 1942, the Manhattan Project started. Do you remember that? What it was all about?
Oh, yeah. They did that recent movie about that.
Yeah.
What was that movie?
I don't remember.
It was a
Probably
great
called
movie.
the
It was a
Manhattan
great
Project.
movie. Yeah, maybe called that.
It was to deliver the atomic bomb. That was
Yeah.
the goal, right?
And you know, whoever created that movie, it's almost like a history book. I mean, it's such an incredible movie. I think it won some Academy Awards too, including maybe the Best Actor. But that was a fun movie to watch and appreciate and understand what was going on. I mean, I know some of it's hyperbole, but it was just it really to know what's going on behind the scenes of that whole project.
Yeah, and that was the goal. Was we're going to come out of this by having a bomb we can drop, and they did actually drop
And
it
a
on
singular mission that worked
to create a weapon.
Yeah,
Yep.
to create
Yep.
two.
And then this one in 1961, overnight. So this is actually a fair amount of time after the end of World War II. But remember, there was some stuff ongoing with the Soviet Union, and there were conversations happening in Berlin. And in 1961, on this day, August 13th, overnight, a wall came up. And that was the beginning of the Berlin Wall that separated both sides.
I would have expected much sooner than that because the war ended
in the mid-40s.
15, 20 years
Yep.
earlier.
Yep.
But the Berlin Wall was put up on this day in 1961.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, my wife and I have gathered a lot of things over the years, heirlooms and historical pieces and whatnot. But we have a piece of the Berlin Wall. And I would say the guests in our home comment on that more than anything else. And it's not the coolest thing we have, but people
That's
comment
pretty cool.
on that. Yeah, it's in a little, you know, obviously they had to certify it and everything. But
Right.
a piece of the Berlin Wall we have, I don't know. I don't even know where we got it, but it's just been a really interesting piece to have.
Yeah, it's super great. And, you know, I remember, I'm sure you remember, I mean, I'm guessing almost all of our listeners remember President Reagan going to Gorbachev and saying, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Yeah, tear down that wall.
Right.
Yes.
And his speechwriters, before he got to that point, his speechwriters were like, oh, you got to soften it. Please, wouldn't you consider?
Please.
And he's like, no, I'm not going to do this. So that
happened.
It stood until November 9th, 1989. And if you remember that event where the wall came down, that was almost overnight as well. It was like all of a sudden, it's gone.
Oh yeah, people couldn't get to it fast enough
Y-
once they
yeah.
said tear it down, because you had people from both sides of that wall, families, close family members who couldn't cross the wall, and suddenly it was down, and the whole of Germany changed after that.
Yeah, trying
You
to
didn't have
reunite
East
a
and
city.
West,
Yeah, you
right.
didn't have East and West Germany. You're right. And you didn't have East and West Berlin. And that wall, it was a significant marker of the fall of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Wow, big day today.
Big day.
World War II and more. When we come back, Midday with Maria Chaleos is up next with all of today's news, including the latest on the commutation hearing for Utah death row inmate Ralph Menzies. We talked about that earlier. That started today. It's supposed to go for 3 days. Maria will give us an update on that. Stay with us on KSL News Radio.
Prison. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is following the hearing, and he joins us now live with the latest. Eric?
Maria, inside the Board of Pardons and Parole, Menzies sat quietly as his attorneys called a steady